Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to Trackalicious. We are back for another exciting Monday. We've got the Rookie Series and the Open Series tonight. A nice grid of 22 cars, and I am joined with Kuja Terakov. Kuja, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Can't complain. Another good Monday in the bag. Should be an exciting night of racing once again, and these rookies just will not stop providing action for us.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get tons of action. You and I, when we both saw what the track was, we both got pretty excited. Where are we racing, Kuja?
We are going around one of the famous Italian circuits of the Misano World Circuit today.
I am super stoked. I love Misano, and specifically in the third sector, that fast right-hander, the double right that you have to do. Oh my goodness, that is just one of my favorite corners in all of ACC. Just the blissful balance that you have to achieve at speed, kind of a do or die corner.
Yeah, it's the fastest speed you're going to achieve throughout the circuit, down those sweeping right-handers into a pretty heavy braking zone. But yeah, it's a really fun corner to get right. It can be a bit bad if you get it wrong and slide a bit out. It's a little bit close to the edge there on track limits too, so drivers will have to play it a little bit safe throughout the race to avoid getting penalties for that.
Yep, well, we have cars on track. So why don't we go check out and see what the crew is doing. We are already 13 minutes into qualifying. A bunch of the drivers out have qualified, and looks like we're gonna have a look and see what this race has to offer us. And I say race, but it's really qualifying, 2 races for the GT4 rookies, and then another qualifying and another race for the GT4 Open Series.
Yeah, plenty of GT4 action today. In the first 10 minutes, we already had the odd-numbered cars go out, and we can see their times have already been set there. The fastest being Estevez with a 1:42.382. So that's going to be the benchmark for all of these now even-numbered cars to go down and chase.
Yeah, it looks like we got the even cars out here, all ready to rock and roll, as we have Jorge Barrios in his second ever race on ACC, having set a time. A bunch of cars with seemingly quality penalties, no quality penalties, and yeah, you know, it's a part of the penalty that you face here at Trackalicious when you cause an incident on lap 1. A way for us to really give people a huge incentive, considering you have no bodily damage or monetary financial risk crashing into people here in sim racing, so we want to give a bit of an incentive. So I still, you know, I get arguments about this rule all the time, but I still love it. I still think that it's the right way to go for rookies to develop their racecraft with this fear of having to lose something on lap 1.
Yeah, especially coming from something like public lobbies where taking somebody out is a pretty common occurrence, so it's good to get that out of the system and be able to learn how to race clean and fair out on track with your fellow competitors.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of people in chat. Scott, welcome. Dr. Porkchop, welcome. And Vinny Maxa, welcome. Mariko hanging out in chat as well, getting ready for the races. And Rod Skyhook. Actually, Rod Skyhook is not it's the Sullivan you're seeing is not Scott Sullivan. It's another S Sullivan, and that is Shane Sullivan. I have mistaken him a couple of times for Scott, but yeah, Mariko proclaiming the badness that was done in the previous race. So sitting trackside. Ooh, Vinny, awesome. Vinny, how do you pronounce the name? Oh,
yes, I've been curious as well.
We try our best, but you know, it's always good to hear from the source. As Content Roman here. Rod Skyhook joins rookies next season as Rod Skyhook and not as Mason Petrowski, winner of the Open Series.
Yeah, racing under a new alias here. Yeah, Content Roman going around just under 4 minutes to go in qualifying.
So I had it wrong. It is Hippu Duku. Okay, Doku? Duku. D-O is do. Hippu Duku. Okay, is that right? Hippu Duku? Okay, perfect. There
awesome.
We go.
Thanks for letting us know.
The Y is an H pronunciation. Very cool. Is that an actual name or a pseudonym? And if it is a name, I'm very curious what background it is. Also cool if it's just a Mason one step behind. Xander, hello. Welcome. Mr. Freeman, hope you're doing well. All right, let's see what's going on. 3 minutes left. IRL role model. Okay, I'll have to look that up. It's kind of cool. And yes, Estevez sitting in the pits with a solid 42.3, only 900s. These qualifying sessions are unreal. Kuja, with Austin Doyle just less than a tenth behind P1. So up for another great battle as we see a bunch more people. Evan Laranjo correcting our pronunciation last race, I'm sorry, in 11th position, looking for some improvement. Does have some time in hand. Oh, that is unfortunate, losing a bunch of tenths there here towards the end of the first sector, and that's not going to be something that Laranjo wants to see, unfortunately, and invalidates on top of that.
Yeah, perhaps we'll just have to line up again for another run. We'll have enough time to go around at least one more time with just about 2 minutes to go on the clock. Yeah, just unfortunate to see that corner complex after the first sector ends, that left-hander over that heavy curbing on your left-hand side, and then the heavy sausage curbs exiting the corner on the right-hand side really make you take the perfect line through the corner, and you really want to perfect it to maximize the time, because if you drift just that little bit wide, it'll A, cost you the lap because you'll invalidate it, and B, potentially during the race you might pick up a warning and lose a position from going out slow on those sausage curbs.
Yeah, that's another thing about Misano, is that's something you have to be careful of. Turn excuse me, turn 3, the exit of turn 3, a really big spot for track limits. Turn 4, big spot for track limits. Turn 6, track limits. So let's look at the 78 car of Roman. Yeah, so right where Roman is exiting, if we can find him. Don't think I can. There we go. Fortunately, we missed a section. Why don't we go to the 24 and we'll see. Or you know what? I want to go even farther back. Let's go to the 20. Perez here. And let's go on board and have a look at all the different places where track limits is really a risk. Lots of cut there on turn 1. Lots of cut there on turn 2. Exit of turn 3 over here is a huge risk, as a lot of people do tend to go wide, which you do have to do to maximize. And again over here on the exit, as Perez loses the rear end, and then finally onto the front straight, another location in which the track limits is a risk. So 3 seconds left in qualifying, couple more cars on track. Let's see what's going on as we have the number 8 of Barrios coming in, trying to improve, does not find improvement. Who else do we have right behind? Roman looking for improvement. Invalidated lap. Not gonna see it. Who do we have next? Let's go to the 2 cars of John, and I believe that Mitch Narati right behind. Narati hoping not to get slowed down by John ahead. Oh, unfortunately, my goodness, that is not what you want to see in qualifying. Mitch definitely trying to be very optimistic and looking for space, but unfortunately, it is his responsibility to make a clean pass even in qualifying. That's a big no-no there, Kuja.
Indeed, yeah, it's always tricky to try to get by during qualifying. You always want to try to leave plenty of gap to the cars in front of you to avoid even just risking such an incident out on track. So yeah, just not good to see during qualifying.
Yeah, well, here we are, 22 cars on the grid, race 1 of the evening, and on the top we have Andy Estevez in the Aston Martin, again flooded with a bunch of Aston Martins through the grid. Andy Estevez doing a fantastic job topping the grid yet again. Austin Doyle not too far behind in the number 11 Doyle Most Sport Porsche there. Luke Nelson coming in P3. It's been a little while since we've seen Luke that high. I think P4, P5, P6 is where we've seen him. So fantastic performance for Luke here at Misano. Joan Perez in the GT Marquez Motorsport, or GT Marquez Porsche in P4. Fantastic job there. Emmanuel Ramirez, a Costa Rica racing team driver in P5. Mitch Nairati not showing or not being able to achieve any improvement in the final lap there in P6. Dr. Porkchop in the Aston Martin in P7. Lowandi Dillon, maybe get some pronunciation correction, in the Lippert Motorsport number 21 Mercedes. Shane Sullivan in the 617 GT Racing in 9th place. Wade Georgeson in P10.
In 11th place is Evan Laranjo in the 314 Pro Sport Performance Aston Martin. Just behind him in the Mercedes number 224 is Spady Budd. In the first Chevrolet on the grid is Ryan Eason in the Jurassic Racing number 2 Camaro. Colin Sugg in 14th place just behind in the 34 Slug Racing Porsche. The Aston Martin of Jorge Barrios is behind them in the number 8. In 16th place is Conton Roman in yet another Aston Martin, this in the number 78 machine. Aaron John in 17th place, the number 24 Mercedes. Tyler Morgan of Morgan Motorsport GT4 in the 72 Aston Martin in 18th place. Will and Go of Silver Tiger Racing in the Janetta 892. Moriko Yatanashi in the Nine Tail Racing Aston Martin. 21st place is Frederick Velez in the Latin Race Sim Race 787 Aston Martin. Last but not least, we have Diaz Herald in the number 29 Aston Martin.
That is quite the grid, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a few blue and bright yellow green Aston Martins. I count 1. That's 2. That is 3 for Content Roman. Who else do we have here? I believe there's 4 or 5 in a team. I don't know. I don't think it's a coincidence. I believe they are all on the same team as we continue to work ourselves up the grid. Yep. So Andy Estevez, the 4th Aston Martin, really spread through the field, dominating all the way in the front and all the way in the rear as the rookies here play the dance of the warm up your tire situation in the outlap here, trying to get as much heat in their tires. Now, this isn't my personal preferred way of warming up my car. I use the hold your brakes all the way through lap 1 to get the systems rolling, but to each their own.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what the best way to do it with the GT4s is. Yeah, I do the same thing where I just do a slightly little bit of weaving when I enter heavy braking zones to just induce a little bit of understeer and get some heat into the tires. But that's about, yeah, but like you said, everyone has their own kind of way of doing it. Maybe the GT4s have a better way of warming up the tires from lateral movement rather than just having to warm up from the brakes from the internal side of things. So yeah, it could just be something we're not familiar with.
So Kuja, we have some interesting names on the top. We have Estevez, Doyle, Nelson, Perez, and Nairati. DeLone, new name, I believe. I don't recall having talked about DeLone too much in the past. What do you see as being the outcome of this race? Where do you think the challengers are?
It'll be pretty close between the top 2. We saw their lap time about 1/10 apart. A little bit back to Luke Nelson. I believe he was about 3 or 4 tenths off the pace, but then the next 4 or 5 behind him were all within 2 or 3 tenths of each other. So it should be a pretty good battle for that last spot on the podium between the next 5 cars.
Yeah, I think there's going to be great battles through the entire grid, especially the top 2, like you said, the next 4 or 5 being in tight battles. And with 22 cars, I think we're going to see battles all the way through the grid as we roll through the final corner here. And Kuja, why don't you take the start of the race this week?
Sure thing. Here they are approaching the start-finish line in zipper formation. The first 2 just slightly warming up the brakes a bit, going to approach the line, and we're going to wait for that green light to go off, and here they come, and the green light goes, and Doyle gets a really good launch. It looks like he's going to be ahead coming up to the first corner, but Estevez pretty good on the brakes, but gives the room, and Austin Doyle sweeps around the outside to take the lead, and now has the inside. Oh, there's a bit of a incident behind, and hopefully cars are able to get through cleanly, but it looks like there is a bit of a pile up behind. Started from the front, Joan Perez getting involved, but good start from Doyle taking the move around the outside.
Yeah, if I had my eyes focused correctly, I think there was a bit of a bump from Mitch Nairati onto Joan Perez, causing a bit of a what's the, when you have the momentum balls, oh my goodness. Let's use our brakes, folks. Remember, the lap 1 penalties are pretty severe. Let's not forget to do the whole left foot pedal thing that's there. It does exist. I don't know if you guys remember how to use it, but I think it would be very valuable in your best interest and in your championship fights to use that left pedal. Gosh, Kuja, what was that left pedal used for? I forget.
Usually braking, especially if you hit it really hard.
Yes, braking.
But yes, as you said, heavy momentum. The Newton's Cradle is what you were referring to earlier. But yeah, the Alpine just carrying a lot of momentum into that corner and unfortunately not getting it stopped in time and going into the back of Andy Estevez, who was battling for the lead, will now have to claw his way back through the front, and we'll see what he's able to do.
Something that we see huge that we actually see this quite often from Diaz Herald, starting from the back, but just finds his way through the grid so quickly. It's only been a lap and he's already up into 12th position. Hopefully that doesn't come with some pit start and quality start penalties, as there is quite a bit of damage on the front of his car, but that could have been unavoidable damage for which he does not get a penalty. So hopefully he got through cleanly and finds his way through the grid. It is always exciting to watch him battle, very aggressive, but yeah, great pace from Diaz Herald for sure.
Yeah, starting from the back, already working his way up into 11th place and even battling for a top 10 spot already. 2.5 minutes into this 20-minute race is a very impressive pace. There's a battle up front in between Dr. Porkchop and Andy Estevez, as Estevez is able to work his way through Dr. Porkchop into 6th place. Going to try and claw his way back up through the field after that incident in turn 8 with the Alpine on lap 1, but nonetheless Dr. Porkchop doesn't want to give up this position too easily. Going to try to stay on the tail of the faster driver and use that speed to try and catch up to the cars ahead.
Yeah, Porkchop doing a great job applying pressure onto Estevez. I feel like Estevez, I mean, we know he has significant pace, so that's going to be super tough for Porkchop to regain the position. But I love the heart that he's putting into it. I love that he's still there, actually, which is amazing. So good on you, Dr. Porkchop. Keep at it. Keep applying pressure, and you really never know. Maybe there's a little bit of attention that's lost to the car behind, as Spady Bud also looking threatening. Now there are some cars pretty close by, as we have Aaron John chasing down Diaz Herald, followed by Joan Perez and Wade Georgeson. It's a bit of a tight pack, as Mariko Yatanashi getting a drive through already. That is very likely to be 3 track limits within 1 or 2 laps. That is unbelievable. We talked about it earlier, just did not expect it to come so quickly. And before I hand it over to you, Pran, thank you so much for the sub, man. We really appreciate it. That is 5 subs, 5 months worth of subs. That is almost an entire year. Greatly appreciate it. And for your information, I've informed the boss's boss that she has been called upon to stream a race, for which we will organize it very shortly, very soon, in the coming days, maybe a week, and we will make sure to let you know so that you are witness to the big redeem that you had. And yeah, hope you get to witness that. She's hyped and ready to go.
Yeah, that is super exciting news. Good battles going on throughout the top 10 and even throughout the entire grid, really. Aaron John holding on to 10th place for now, staying ahead of Joan Perez, who got involved in that lap 1 incident we saw at the beginning of the lap through turns 1 and 2. So Joan Perez eager to try to make up some positions as best as possible, while with Wade Georgeson being right on their tail in the 707. Mercedes in a bit of a Mercedes sandwich is the Porsche of Joan Perez. A tough position to be in, like we say every week. You gotta pay attention in front to the car ahead. You gotta pay attention to the car behind for doing any sort of moves, and you also have to pay attention to your own race.
Yeah, Grumpy Geriatric Gamer updating us from trackside, letting us know that Mariko's drive-through is not from limits, but it is from a false start or a mispositioned start. So that is unfortunate, and sometimes that does catch people out. It is confusing at times, the reference of the guide that you're given on screen versus the positioning of the cars around you. So unfortunately, Mariko getting a drive-through from that, as we see. That is a bit odd. Oh, it's Wade Georgeson applying a lot of pressure. Georgeson seems to have changed his livery, as we have seen multiple liveries from Wade before. And applying a lot of pressure onto Perez here. looking for a position. The monster Mercedes is trying to apply pressure onto the itty bitty Porsche.
Yeah, that was Aaron John running a little bit wide in turns 5 and 6 and giving up the positions to Perez and Georgeson. So he is now at the tail of this pack in 12th place. Going to try his best to stay on the tail of these guys and get that position back as soon as possible.
Ooh, we have an incident here. Not quite sure what happened. Unfortunately, we have a Jorge Barrios dropping down. Loads of damage on Jorge's Aston Martin here. The lovely Aston Martin seen better days. What happened to this car now coming through a challenging combination of corners here, and just seems like, oh no, that is an unfortunate rejoin. My goodness. Who was that?
There was the dust we saw in the foreground going on as he was rounding the corner, and just unfortunate for Velez. Most likely we see the damage on the front of that Aston Martin. May have just rejoined a little bit unsafely into the path of the fellow Aston Martin, and damage to both cars now.
That is something that you really don't want to see. And to Pran's point, so Pran, having spoken to Spady lately, it's very odd how sometimes things work. And despite having spoken to Spady many a time, right, Spady's motivation for consistency and being a more conservative and safe driver was iRacing. Apparently the X's in iRacing motivated him to be cleaner, as per his words, not mine. And you have redeemed an onboard lap, and let's hop on to a lap with Spady Bud as he goes through Carvone, through the fast right-hander here, and going through into the third sector here. This corner, oh my goodness, one of my favorites of all of ACC. Super great as they go to Curva del Carro here at the end of Misano. Super challenging group of corners. Go over the bumps there. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, nearly flat through that corner, exiting. Oh no, an unfortunate kick off of the curve from Spady Bud, and he's gonna launch his Mercedes into the barriers. We saw the hood punch up a little bit, so that's gonna be a fair bit of damage to the car, and now gonna have to wait for a good opportunity to turn that car around. And as he does,
that's not our fault.
How to do it brilliantly. No,
that's not that's Pran's fault. Pran's the one who made us do an onboard lap, Spady. Just for the record, when you watch this back, that's Pran. We didn't want to watch you. We were paying attention somewhere else. But Pran was like, "Oh, let me go look at my buddy Spady Bud." And that's the kind of guy Pran is sometimes. As we shed all responsibility for the incident that happens. And looks like our curse counter's not working. I'll have to go back and see why that's the case, Freeman. I will have to look into that. We do have a curse counter, exclamation point curse, and yeah, it does. We do have a commentator's curse counter, which does count up every time someone does exclamation point curse, as Ryan Eason now being challenged and being overtaken by Spady Bud.
That was a good overtake from Spady Bud, showing the outside and then diving to the inside at the last moment into the heavy braking zone at turn 8. So yeah, really good move from Spady Bud, seeming to carry that damage forward. Doesn't want to stop with just over halfway of the race completed. Lots of damage on a bunch of these cars, so it'll be interesting to see how they manage it throughout the remaining half of the race, as Ryan Eason looks a little bit menacing in the mirrors, but doesn't quite line up the move into that really tricky right-hand complex.
With the amount of damage I see on both these cars, I'm a bit nervous on the moves that are being put onto each other, but both cars being exceptionally responsible with each other thus far. Looking forward to a good pass or defense from either one. Not taking any bias, but may the faster car win.
Yeah, good battle here for sure. Spady Bud just had a fantastic move down in turn 8, but Ryan Eason just not really giving up that position at all, staying right on the back of the Mercedes and challenging it into just about every corner he can. It's going to be difficult for some corners obviously with the dirty air coming off of the car ahead. Oh, running a little bit wide there at the exit of turn 3. Might pick up a warning here, but the Camaro seems to be really confident on the brakes, almost getting bumper to bumper into the slowest part of the corners as he absolutely drifts that Camaro through turn 6. That was really pretty to see.
So yeah, lots of pace we're seeing from Ryan Eason here. What I do like is he's being patient. He's really calculating, looking for places to see where he does have the advantage and not just sending it the first opportunity he gets. Oftentimes what I tell most of the rookies is it really is about you not making a mistake and just being there enough for the other person to make the error. And Ryan Eason continuing to do that, just continuing to threaten Spady Bud, and does manage. I thought he was alongside both of their hoods having a conversation with each other, trying to figure out who is going to have that position into this super fast right-hander. Again, Ryan Eason having a little bit of sense and deciding to back out for the remainder of the corners.
Yeah, the Camaro just seems to have a huge speed advantage over the Mercedes through that long back straight, quote unquote, if you could call it a back straight. Turns 11 and 12 are pretty flat, so that's about the fastest you're gonna go on this pretty short 2.5 mile track. And Ryan Eason going to try and line up a move down the main straight, going to look down the inside of turn 1. Can he get it done into the braking zone? No, the Mercedes carrying a lot of speed into that first part of the Variante del Parco, and not giving any sort of advantage to the Camaro as the small little Ginetta of Will and Go comes into the picture, and he's going to have a look down the inside of turn 4, and he's going to get the move done on the Camaro. Ryan Eason not defending too hard, seeing that the Ginetta has a bit of pace and drifting once again through turn 6.
Yeah, I'm you know what, despite not making the overtake happen, I'm loving what Ryan's doing here. I love the patience. I love that he's experimenting. He's trying the inside line, he's trying the outside line, but doing it safely. He's learning, and that is what the point of this championship is. Absolutely love what I'm seeing here, and I'm sure if Ryan continues to behave in this manner, he's gonna find those opportunities for overtakes, and he's gonna do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I completely agree, and of course we can see the damage he's carrying on the front end. So completely different conditions to how he's used to handling the car during his practices. I'm sure most of these guys aren't crashing the car during the practice and then, you know, driving around for a few laps to see how it feels. Will and Go, though, moving up through the field once again, getting past Spady Bud, now up into 13th place in the 892 Ginetta. Starting from relatively back of the grid, not sure if he had a quali ban or a pit lane start, but nonetheless working his way up the field pretty well here with about 5.5 minutes left in the race.
Yeah, that is 6 positions gained for Will and Go, doing a great job. You usually see him in the top of the charts, but like we said, you get yourself into those situations and you're gonna feel the wrath of the penalty. And unfortunately for this week, a bunch of people are gonna see that penalty come through for next week.
Yeah, and speaking of penalties, it looks like Yatanashi picking up a drive-through penalty. This time is most definitely going to be for track limits, as Nairati is going to move up into second place. New Luke Nelson going a little bit wide at turn number 9 and 10. And he gives the position to the BMW. Now, can Luke Nelson fight back and take that second step of the podium back? He's going to really send it down the inside. Wow, that was a fantastic move. Surprised Nairati, and he had to back out of it.
That was fantastic driving by both these drivers, and really impressive control by both. Prawn, have a great night. Thank you. Get some rest, do some good work tomorrow for the sim racing community, and see you around. And I will let you know when the boss's boss is ready for a stream. But continuing back in here, did read something earlier and saying that, hey Eric, while I agree with you, it is only a 20-minute race, so you have to make moves. Vlad, while I agree with you that you do have to make moves, it is better to be cautious and live than to be risky and die. It is not worth ending your race. Everything on the track, in my opinion, is a calculation of risk. It is how much risk you're willing to take and at what point in time. With 7 to 10 minutes left, your risk level should be relatively low, maybe medium. And I don't agree that absolutely sending it at that point in time is the right call. Now, if you're in the last lap and you know you have pace, taking a risk might be worth it. Maybe, right? Assuming that you have the ability to do it cleanly. And that move by Nairati, taking that position back. And here we go, dummying Estevez into making that move. Sorry, Nelson into making that move. Really selling that dummy there for Nairati, moving himself up into that second position. That was a lovely bit of racing between these three.
Yeah, good racing for sure. Nairati had a good move down the back straight into turn 8, and Luke Nelson tried to take that position back through turn 9 and 10, but sent it just a little bit deep, and that gave the position to Estevez, who is working his way up pretty well through the field, recovering after that incident with the... I don't remember quite who. I believe it was the Alpine in in lap 1, but now back up into the podium positions and now has Nairati in front to get to that second place. But he's running a little bit wide himself, and him and Nelson are going to battle instead. And this is the first time I've actually seen this, but I think both of those drivers are sharing the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that is a bit odd. I didn't notice that earlier, but from my data back here, it looks like Estevez does have the fastest lap. Oh no, they actually do both have the fastest lap. It's a 1:42.660 to the thousandth of a second. They have identical fastest laps. That is unbelievable. I have literally never ever seen that before. And what's amazing is that not only do they both have the absolute fastest lap, they're both battling for position. This is unbelievable.
Yeah, Luke Nelson did a fantastic move in the braking zone into turn 4 to get by Estevez and take back a spot on the podium. So this battle is going to continue for the last few laps of the race, as there's just 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the race. There should be this lap plus 1 more, so these guys just have a few more overtaking opportunities to get any sort of moves done.
Yeah, while these two are battling some more battles down the field, we don't want to miss the rest of the battling that's happening. Sugg trying to challenge Georgeson. Georgeson going wide, giving Sugg another opportunity to have a closer look. And that is going to be Sugg still behind, deciding to wait to fight another day. Now, Barrios trying to come back through the field, having been spun earlier. There's a tight battle between Shane Sullivan behind and these three cars as we enter the final lap of the race. I do want to go back and have a look at some of the drivers up ahead, but tons of battles happening behind here. Velez, loads of damage on the front of that Aston Martin, and going back, looks like Georgeson had an issue, and Sugg does take that position. I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but going back to the top, Austin Doyle, tons of room, comfy drive, stayed out of any trouble, and is getting rewarded for it. Nairati making the move stick, but is being pressured by Luke Nelson and Andy Estevez. This is the battle we want to pay attention to. Estevez having fallen behind, but Luke Nelson, no slouch, still challenging Nairati up ahead to try and regain that P2 position.
Yeah, indeed. This is going to be really close all the way down to the end. We saw Luke Nelson pull off a fantastic move at the end of the Corvone into turn 13. So that might be the best place for him to try and get the move done on the BMW ahead. And then we'll see if Estevez could potentially pick up any scraps, if there are in fact any left up ahead. And this should give us a good view. The Aston just a little bit too far behind, it looks like, to send anything down the inside here, but might just try to get as close as possible into the last two corners. The BMW lining up very defensively. The Aston's going to try the over-under. Now they're side by side going into turn 15. BMW on the inside. The Aston's going to grip it around on the outside. 1 corner to go. Who's going to take second? Who's going to take third? The Aston heavy on the brakes. The BMW sweeping through the inside, down to the line, and the BMW is going to take it. Wow, fantastic racing all the way down to the line from these three.
Amazing. The BMW braking a little bit earlier, doing the smart thing, sending the Aston Martin wide and getting that position. But the racing is not over. We have a bunch coming up still. These two, Tyler Morgan and Spady Bud, battling for position. Tyler Morgan being behind the Mercedes, coming down the back straight, side by side, no contact. Fantastic job by these two. Aston Martin having the advantage now into the braking zone of the high-speed right-hander. Tyler going wide. Spady Bud looking on the inside, getting that position back. Tyler trying to get a run, just like his fellow friend Mitch Diarati, not being able to do so into the final corners here. One more corner to go as they go to the tight left-hander of the Curva Misano, and that is a position for Spady Bud coming back after his big hit into the wall earlier. Barrios looking for another position, but it is not going to be one for him. Ryan Eason does manage to secure the P16 spot. My goodness, that was great racing for sure. Holly, welcome to chat. How are you doing, John?
Yeah, that was absolutely epic battle between second, third, and fourth place. That was Nairati, Nelson, and Estevez providing an epic battle. Those three cars finished within half a second of each other as they crossed the line. So yeah, that was absolutely fun to watch. And now we have another 20 minutes ahead of us.
Amazing. Amazing. Welcome, JP, as well. BMW using indicators. You know what? Mitch doesn't need to. He indicates his direction, and he uses the force to unwield grip onto his neighboring Aston Martins and did a fantastic job of maintaining that position. So lots of new people in chat. I think what that means, Kuja, is for us to go through the grid again, you know, but maybe people don't know where everybody started. So why don't we do that? And you can go ahead and get this party started as I try to get our back into the whole thing here, which is apparently massively challenging for me, because as if I have never done this before. Where's
happens to the best of us. I'm sure everybody's out of order too on your thing.
yeah, that's crazy. Okay, let's do it in game here, because everyone is absolutely out of order. And why don't we get you started here with Andy Estevez?
No problem. Andy Estevez finishing the qualifying session on top in the number 9 Aston Martin. Just behind was Austin Doyle in the number 11 Porsche, winner of race 1. Luke Nelson involved in that epic battle towards the end in the 33 Aston Martin in third place on the grid. Joan Perez getting involved in a little bit of an incident on lap 1. Going to try to avoid that in fourth place in the number 20 Porsche. Emmanuel Ramirez in the 157 Alpine of the Costa Rica racing team. Mitch Nairati, second place finisher in race 1, starting in 6th in the 32 BMW. Dr. Porkchop in the 71 Aston Martin, starting in 7th place. In 8th place is Lawandi Delone in the 21 Mercedes. Shane Sullivan in 9th place in the 617 Racing BMW. To finish off the top 10 is Wade Georgeson in the 707 6-Star Racing Mercedes.
Loads of action from position 11, Spady Bud in the 2025 Mad Fox Racing 224 car. In the only Camaro on the grid, Ryan Eason in the Jurassic Racing Camaro in P12, P13. Colin Sugg in the Slug Racing Porsche. Jorge Barrios in the Academy Motorsport P14, followed by 15 of Quentin Roman in the 78 Aston Martin, followed by Aaron John in the Vortex Gaming Mercedes 24 car. In 17th place, you have Tyler Morgan of Morgan Motorsport GT4, representing some traditional Aston Martin colors. In P18, Willem Go, looking for some positions gained towards the end of this race. Looking ahead as he does have the pace in that Ginetta. Mirko Yatanashi looking for a cleaner race than those done in the previous session here. And finally, Velez and Diaz Herald, the two matching sister cars, closing up the end of the grid. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, for the second race of the night. Not the final race, but the second race of the night, as we have the GT4 Open coming up. Kuja, amazing racing, really fun first race. Looking forward to the second one.
Yeah, that was absolutely epic battles all the way from start to finish. Hopefully it'll be a little bit more clean than the first time around, as we saw a bit of a pileup in turn 1. Hopefully we're able to avoid that and we'll see some more close battles, or even more close battles throughout these next 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to people actually trying to be clean and trying to use that. I think there are 2 pedals in this car, in these cars. There's a right one which does something and a left one which does something. I'm not so well versed. What was the left one again?
Left one, I believe, is brakes, but yeah, I haven't driven the GT4s in a minute myself, so. But yeah, like you said, it's a bit of a learning curve. Lap 1 is always a tricky situation to learn, especially at a track that is not necessarily the most popular online necessarily, so perhaps a few drivers not really familiar with the layout and where the best overtaking opportunities are. So just still getting to grips with that, but nonetheless, yeah, still good to try and avoid as many incidents as possible. Everybody,
Again, looking at each other, warming their cars up, warming the tires up, warming the brakes up. Mitch Nairati, I'm sure, would be ecstatic about his performance in the previous race, but might be looking at a penalty for the next one, considering the contact into T2 or 3 from the previous race. And then the grid now slowly starting to get into zipper formation. Left, right, left, right, left, right. Everybody lined up towards the end of this lap, the out lap, and looking ahead, trying to ensure that there are no issues, no contact, no situations. I would be driving with extreme caution if I were them, maybe giving myself a little bit more room, as yeah, you might gain a couple positions on the first lap, but you could lose a whole lot if you make a mistake. And we are about to get ready for the start of race 2 here. Engines revving, lined up drivers, 22 cars on the grid, everybody getting ready to go. And Velez pretty far behind Doyle, an immense start from Doyle in the Porsche, looking for a clean T1, manages to get through, and so does Perez going through as well. But Estevez, sorry, coming through. Velez and Estevez, similar names, similar cars. I got confused for a second there. But Estevez, sorry, getting that position back of the P2. Perez now looking under pressure from Nelson and Nairati, trying to avoid another incident. Most of the cars doing a good job, but it looks like we do have a car potentially turned around, but a much better lap 1 from the grid here in the second race of the night.
Yeah, not quite sure why Estevez was lined up so far back on the grid. It almost seemed like he was lined up in that second place car, even though he was in pole position. So not maybe some sort of in-game glitch lined him out position as Nairati gets through Joan Perez up into 4th place, and Perez now under pressure from Dr. Porkchop trying to work his way up through the field, not having any luck down the inside of turn number 10. Gonna try again on the acceleration though. This is gonna be the highest speed that these cars go. We'll see what the speed advantage is from the Aston to the Porsche. Aston so far, a little bit of a bump between the two, but the Aston has the advantage as the Porsche is gonna try and show the inside, but not quite able to get the move done, as the Alpine is gonna try and swoop around the outside, but that's just a little bit too wide.
I would think that's a track limit for the Alpine, and a huge off for the Mercedes just behind. And welcome, Zach666. Hope you are doing well and here to enjoy the second of 3 races of the night, the second GT4 rookie race here at Misano, followed by the Open Series race, where we're seeing some incredible racing by the drivers here and an incredible double fastest lap in the previous race. 2 cars matching lap times to the 1,000th of a second. I've never seen that before. Super exciting, and hoping to see more challenges here in the second race.
Yeah, we've seen that in qualifying before in these GT4 series, but never in the race, as DeLone has an Aston looking up the inside, but the inside turns the outside, but the Aston is just going to sweep around and get the move done. That is Velez moving up into the top 10, as DeLone falling back down the order just a little bit after qualifying in the top 10. Now a little bit under pressure from the Camaro, as Velez pushes Spady Bud and turns Spady Bud around. Unfortunately for Spady Bud, nothing he can do there. Just got hit in the rear quarter and just got spun right around.
That is so unfortunate for Spady, having done such a good job so far. Just getting really unlucky there. This tight pack, 3 wide on the straight behind between Barrios, Velez, and Colin Sugg. Who is gonna quit in this game of chicken? Colin Sugg sending it over the grass, but manages to survive. Wow, I thought he was a goner there. Now sending it through into Jorge Barrios, and not gonna survive that one. Goes onto the grass. Barrios now trying to be a little bit more conservative, as Mariko Yatanashi looks on the inside of Jorge Barrios. Colin Sugg going through, cutting the corner. You have to be really, really careful in that corner, because if you don't go through a certain check marks over there, you can get disqualified. Unreal. Hopefully Colin Sugg comes out and is able to manage some good racing beyond here.
Yeah, hopefully. That was really tight with 3 cars trying to go through the first part of that back straight section and just not able to get it done. Colin Sugg having to take to the grass, taking the bumpy escape, and fortunately for him, the first time around not able, or was able to keep the car pointed in the right direction, but then coming into contact once again with the Aston Martin of, who was that? That was Barrios, and then both of those guys went a little bit off the track and losing positions. Now Barrios under pressure from Yatanashi behind, as the 2 fellow blue and yellow Aston Martins are battling. This is Herald getting through Velez for 11th place in the race, and he's going to try and work his way up through the grid, starting from the back. Has Ryan Eason to chase in front, as this battle we saw earlier between Yatanashi and Barrios is heating up, as Barrios runs a little bit deep into turn 10, and that gives Yatanashi the advantage, and it looks like he's going to be able to get that done, and is just running away from the Aston behind. Has a pretty good grip, as there's another battle between 2 more Aston Martins, I believe, in front. Or was that was Will and Go moving through Frederick Velez as well.
And just contact up ahead between Diaz and Herald, but Herald does manage to have quick hands and saves the car and keeps looking ahead, going through again. Only 6 minutes in, or 5 minutes in, and Herald up into P11, doing a fantastic job. And Go looking to follow, looking to take Ryan Eason now through this next lap, coming up into 11th position, looking wide. Eason going defensive, and Go looking to optimize the line through these first couple corners and try to make the move on and go done. There's an issue here. Pork chop spun around. What happens here?
Yeah, just crossing the line to start another lap, under pressure just a little bit from the Alpine, and we're just gonna see the Alpine closes up on him. Oh, and just taps that quarter panel of the back of the Aston. Fortunately for Porkchop, he's able to avoid the wall, but then as he rejoins, no, unfortunately gets tapped again in that exact same spot and gets spun around in a really unfortunate position on the track.
That's a really tough spot, and I'm not so sure about that rejoin. You know, a bunch of cars coming in. The excitement might have gotten the better of Porkchop. As talking about excitement, Velez absolutely sending it into Yatanashi, but going wide. Yatanashi, calmer head on their shoulders, does manage to make the position stick. Velez and Yatanashi now going hard in this battle. Velez behind, looking forward, trying to get as much speed as possible onto Yatanashi, but Yatanashi does seem to have the position secured. Let's try to get a better view of what's going on. We have Shane Sullivan on the side here. Yatanashi still trying to be defensive. Velez looking left looking right, trying to challenge Yatanashi as much as possible.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bump, I believe, into that fast corner, but both cars able to stay under control, and Yatanashi stays in front and for now to take 12th place away from Velez, or I mean 11th place, and he's going to try to chase down Easton in front, but Velez doesn't want to give up just yet as he's sending it into every corner, every braking zone, trying to stay close to the bumper of the Aston Martin. Easton running a little bit wide in the Camaro. Yatanashi lining up a move down the inside, and we'll see if Velez tries to follow through, and he does as Easton runs a little bit wide onto the curbing, gives up 2 positions in 1 corner, and the battle between the 2 Aston Martins will continue again. Yatanashi just has a little bit of breathing room, but Velez will surely be eager to close that gap.
Yeah, you know, again, I think already my driver of the day is Ryan Easton. Just such a smart play. Sure, Velez might be a similar speed, but Yatanashi isn't, and Velez's aggression coming through pretty clearly, and Ryan Easton goes, you know what? Just go. Don't kill me. Just go ahead. I'll race my race. And look, already has an opportunity to get the overtake back. Absolutely loving the decisions coming from Ryan Easton. Fantastic job. And Maverick, you're wrong. Velez did not kill anybody. So you got to stand corrected there.
Yeah, that was a close battle between the two, and it's still going to keep going on as Easton is doing his absolute best to keep that Aston Martin behind after overtaking him down the back straight and doing a fantastic job into the final 2 corners. That Camaro just had a massive speed advantage and gets that job done. And like you said, Eric, yeah, kept a cool head, let him by into a pretty aggressive braking zone where he was already letting a car through, but knew he had the advantage elsewhere on track and took advantage of it pretty early on to get up into 11th place.
Yeah, absolutely loving what Ryan Easton is doing today. Definitely my pick of the night. My pick of the night for sure, as Andy Estevez has caught back up to Austin Doyle, challenging for that P1 position. This race is immense. We have a 141.2 for fast lap for Andy Estevez, a 142.2, and a 142.8 for Austin Doyle. Doyle, having the advantage of being the car ahead, is going to be drafted here all the way on through the straight, and this might be the opportunity for Estevez to make that overtake happen.
Yeah, he does have the fastest lap, like you mentioned. We'll see if that pace advantage is going to play out in this battle, or whether he really has to work for it, as Austin Doyle doesn't really shape up very defensively into that corner, but does so into turn number 14, as he doesn't want to give Estevez any sort of looks down the inside. He's going to have to keep a cool head, though. Doesn't want to make any mistakes, just wants to keep racing his race at this pace, and hopefully that'll be enough to keep Estevez behind.
Yeah, and some people in chat going, well, almost hit him. Yeah, almost is not a hit. I think the difference between heroes and villains under braking is paper thin. If you're able to play those margins and evaluate that risk, if you're able to brake just perfectly, you end up being a hero, end up finding every maximization of optimization, making up words, to get faster and take advantage of the car ahead, as Estevez is trying to do here, but Austin Doyle doing a fantastic job. But again, yeah, I'm actually impressed, because I do agree that Velez was being quite aggressive as Velez gets a drive-through.
Yeah, like you said, he was just being a little bit aggressive, and unfortunately that aggression has cost him in the form of the drive-through, just running wide or cutting a few corners to pick up any sort of pace he can on the drivers ahead, and now is just going to have to come into the pits, drive through, and come out on track. Unfortunately, at Misano, it is a bit of a long pit lane. The exit of the pits comes pretty far after you actually exit your pit, like the true pit lane where the garages are. So it's a bit of a longer wait, so a bit more costly of a drive-through this week than some other weeks.
And looks like a bit wide for Estevez there, probably getting the limit. If Estevez isn't too careful, going to be gaining a drive-through themselves. So another battle happening just behind Diaz and Perez looking back to back. I think generally speaking, Diaz. Oh my goodness, Velez getting the stop go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. That is incredibly unfortunate, and that's probably the night for Frederick Velez, unfortunately.
Yeah, since the drivers don't have to do a pit stop during the race, perhaps possible that just not sure where the right way or the right place to begin braking for the pit lane entrance is. So perhaps just carrying a little bit too much speed into that pit lane and just picking up yet another penalty on top of the drive-through.
A fun little battle brewing here between Shane Sullivan, Jorge Barrios, and Colin Sugg just behind. Barrios finding his track legs as they do in sea legs, and yeah, having to look ahead and having to look behind as Shane Sullivan is just ahead, Colin Sugg behind. We've seen Colin have some incredible races in the past, and that mistake from Barrios is potentially going to cost him the position, as Colin Sugg does look to make the move, does get a run, is on the inside of the following corner, which I believe is Curva Quercia.
As it's turn 8, I believe it's pronounced Quercia, I think, if I remember right when we hosted it.
You're right.
But yeah, Dr. Porkchop just going really deep into that corner, following the likes of Barrios deep into that corner as we saw him just spin a little bit. And that gives a position to Spady Bud, who we saw get into a bit of an incident earlier, get spun around, but is still in the race in 16th place and trying to make up as many places as possible with 6 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I'm looking up and down. Still quite a few cars within reach and battles in this battle for P1. As exciting as ever. Looks like Austin Doyle doing a fantastic job of defending and continuing to do so. Does put on a defensive move against Estevez, and Estevez, because of it, having to drop down 5 tenths now, almost 6 tenths. And yeah, that's going to be some breathing room for potentially a lap. But as I say that, a huge send in by Estevez, really closing down that gap to only 3 or 4 car lengths now.
Yeah, it's really tricky to judge. It just seems like these two have different lines going into most of the corners. The Porsche and the Aston having completely different chassis, front engine versus rear engine. So perhaps just a difference of line where we see the Porsche just carrying a lot of momentum through the corner, whereas the Aston has to really get stopped and then get going again into the corner, almost taking like a V-shaped pattern into the corner, versus the Porsche where it takes more of a U approach into that specific corner. So yeah, just perhaps a difference in driving style where one car is suited to one segment of the track over the other. Here we have Yatanashi just behind Dillon in the 21 Mercedes. This is a battle for 8th place. Yatanashi moving his way up through the field pretty well, I must say, up into the top 10 now, and just behind the yellow Mercedes ahead.
Yeah, Yatanashi again having had the start from the back. A quali ban, I believe, is working their way up through the grid here, looking to challenge Dillon in the Mercedes. Looks like is closing the gap between the Aston and the Mercedes. We could go on board and have a look at this view. I do love the in-car view as you get that perspective. You get this immense like feeling of, oh my goodness, I'm getting so close, I might hit them, and this fear that gets driven into you if you care. And most people care in this league. I'm not going to speak for everyone and say everybody cares, because some people don't, and that's not great. But as Yatanashi does look on the inside, does look to make that move stick, and does move ahead up into P8, and looking ahead to Will Ngo, which is going to be a huge challenge as Will is quite fast.
Yeah, those two starting near the back of the grid, working their way up through the grid together almost in 7th and 8th place now. Diaz Herald, one of those cars as well, starting at the back of the grid up into 6th place. That is a really impressive result from him starting from the back, as this battle for P1 is still continuing. Estevez not able to get any sort of moves done on Doyle, perhaps just waiting it out, waiting for Doyle to make any sort of mistake that he can pounce on, and then if that doesn't happen, just waiting for the last lap to send it for one last opportunity and take that first place across the line.
Yeah, this battle continues with 2 or 3 laps to go. Looks like Porkchop just made a move stick on Wade Georgeson. Now looking ahead at Jorge Barrios. Porkchop having been quite a bit farther up in the grid on the start of the race, having lost 10 positions from the start from multiple incidents, unfortunately.
Yeah, just getting spun around and then rejoining the track and getting spun around again, dropping them back into 17th place overall, and more than likely carrying a bit of damage, so doesn't quite have the pace that they had in qualifying or the first race. And yeah, this battle for first place is picking up, but also not looking like Doyle is phased by it, as Estevez is going to try to send it around the outside, but Doyle not really phased by it, just racing his own line and just keeping his head down and doing what he needs to do.
That is a bit of advice we've gotten from Ali Raza, the razzle dazzle in the past. If you're getting pressured, don't drive with your eyes behind, drive with your eyes ahead. Just race your race and try to put down as clean laps as possible, one corner at a time. Alex, thank you for the hydrate redeem, much needed.
Yes, indeed. It's hard to speak when there's all this action going on. Not really a break for us at all. Oh, and there's a bit of contact between the two, but luckily for Doyle, able to keep the car pointed in the correct direction. Estevez staying behind as well. Good sportsmanship from him, not taking advantage of that little bump. So these guys will continue across the line, and this will be the final lap of the race. So one more time around Misano, around 16 corners, 2.6 miles for Estevez to get any sort of move done to take the lead away from Doyle.
Yeah, this battle has been super fun. It is still the closest battle on track. Tyler Morgan looking to make a move on Ryan Eason, but just not quite there. Lawandi Dillon, looking ahead at Mariko Yatanashi, but Yatanashi, having made that move earlier, is probably going to be driving away. So this is going to be the action that we want to follow at track. And there's a drive-through for Luke Nelson on the final lap of the race. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah, that is harsh to see. Fortunately for him, it is the last lap, so he could either... I'm not sure what happens actually on the last lap if you serve it, if you come into the pits during this lap, whether that counts as serving it or not, or whether he just has to cross the line and pick up a time penalty. Nonetheless, that is very unfortunate for him, as either way, he's going to drop down the field just a little bit, picking up that drive-through in the final minutes of the race.
Fun fact redeemed by Vlad Maverick here, and interestingly enough, while the circuit is now officially called Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli, it used to be called originally Circuito Internazionale Santa Monica. There's your fun fact.
And it looks like Doyle is going to be able to maintain his position and take P1 as those two cross the line. Andy Estevez just 1/10 behind, not able to get anything done. Nonetheless, will take second place overall, as we saw Luke Nelson come into the pits to serve that drive-through. So he does serve it, and on top of that does pick up another 30-second penalty. I'm not sure if that would have counted differently if he had just stayed out on track or not, but nonetheless, good result from him in the first race. Unfortunately, picking up that drive-through just in the last few corners of the race.
Oh, that is really unfortunate, because I don't think unfortunately, because the drive-through is recognized on exit, it looks like Luke's gonna get a double penalty for that. Because really the drive-through needs to be served as a whole, right? It's going through the entire pit.
Yep.
And because the start-finish straight is in the middle, that's going to be a big loss for Luke Nelson there. Yikes. Unfortunate after such a good race.
Yeah, unfortunately, was maintaining a really good position in fourth place throughout race 2, and just not able to keep it clean and within the white lines
around Misano, and picking up 4 track limit violations for that drive-through penalty as race 2 has concluded.
That was yet again another exciting race. We can look and see if we have any of our drivers available for interviews.
Yeah, that was exciting action throughout race 1 and 2. It'll be good to hear from them and see what their perspective was of the race. Race 2, a lot more clean. No lap 1 incidents that we picked up, at least major ones. So good to see everybody learning their lessons from race 1 and carrying it into race 2 and being able to go around cleanly for the second 20-minute race.
So it was Andy Doyle, Andy Doyle, and then there was Estevez, right?
Mm-hmm.
Andy Estevez as well? Austin Doyle. What am I saying? Austin Doyle.
Yeah,
Andy
Austin
Estevez.
Doyle, Andy Estevez, and then Nairati finished on the podium in race 1 and 2, and then Luke Nelson finished in 3rd in race 1.
Yeah, okay, let's see if we can get these. You got it. Your memory. Killing it.
Yeah, that was exciting. I mean, all 3 of those were in super close battles throughout the race and all the way to the end, so that was exciting to watch.
Yeah, really, really fun races, and it looks like we're going to have some more. Alrighty, we have a couple of folks in chat here. Kuja, go ahead. We got Austin and Mitch in here.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? Exciting race from our end. Austin, talk us through the end of race 2 there. You were under extreme pressure. How were you able to keep Estevez behind and finish off on top?
Great race to Estevez. That was so much fun, battling for the end of the race. I just tried to focus on keeping him behind me. I was parking it on the apexes, making sure that he had to wait for me to get on throttle before he could get on throttle, and just pull out enough space to not give him the room to dive me into every single corner.
Yeah, that was good racing. We saw from all the external cameras. Of course, it's probably way different from inside the car. But yeah, able to kind of run away a little bit in race 1. And also talk us through the start. You were able to get really good getaways in both race 1 and 2. How were you able to do that?
I think it was just luck, to be honest with you. I don't think there's any secrets to it. I think it's just hoping that my game doesn't lag as soon as the green flag drops, which it does often. And it didn't today, so I'm going to put it to that.
Well, congrats on getting it done in race 1 and 2 and not letting the lag phase you. Mitch, talk us through that battle in race 1 towards the end, a 3-car battle for the last 2 spots of the podium. How was it from your perspective?
It was a great race. So obviously, credit to Nelson, credit to Ramirez for, putting me under a lot of pressure and some great hard racing. It was one of those where trying to not drive in my rearview mirrors, but with this track, it's very tricky, similar to Netherton last week. Certain corners with the beam where the ABS kicks in, which can really throw off my braking a little bit. So I had to be really careful in a lot of corners. And the few corners that I caught myself out or made mistakes while under pressure, Nelson was able to take advantage of, but ultimately was able to force some mistakes on him, put my car up on the inside, and give me one hell of a fight to the finish, right to the line on the last lap. I know that they were both about 2/10 off of my tail, and they both shared the fastest lap together, so they definitely didn't make it easy on me.
Yeah, that was quite incredible. Eric and I were talking about that during the broadcast. It was our first time seeing that 2 cars had the fastest lap during the race. Yeah, we'd seen it before in qualifying, but during the race is something else. That's really impressive to see that you're able to keep them both behind you.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a circuit that I truthfully don't have too much experience on. A lot of people, a lot of my friends, and a lot of fellow co-drivers from other leagues have, spoken ad nauseum on how much they dislike this track or for whatever reason or not. But I actually quite like it. I like the flow a lot. I like that this track forces you to brake in a straight line, but it tricks you into wanting to brake while under steering. So once you really understand the circuit and can technically start to master it, it's a very rewarding track and it's a lot of fun. Although it is absolute murder on the tires.
Yeah, for sure. Me and Eric both kind of simultaneously saw what track it was, and both kind of got super excited when when we both saw it was Misano. And yeah, like you said, it's super tricky with a lot of different corner styles, some fast right-handers, some tricky slow corners. You don't want to take it too hard on track limits, as well, as we saw a couple of drivers get track limit drive-throughs at the end. But yeah, congrats to both of you for keeping it clean out there and being able to see it to the checkered flag.
Yeah, certainly. It was a great track, and that was part of the fun and the pressures with having a driver like Nelson behind me. Is a lot of corners he was taking alternative lines to me, and that forced me to defend or to change my driving style a little bit to respond to that to try to keep him behind. But that's what makes tracks like this fun, is when you have a meshing of different cars, different balance of performances, different styles, all blend into one. That provided some excellent action. But yeah, no, credit to Ramirez, credit to Nelson, Austin, credit to yourself as well. A nice and tidy first win, and then. It was fun watching from about 5 seconds back you holding off that Aston Martin for the entire race, and while not nearly as quick as you guys on raw pace, I was trying to stay close enough to keep you both honest if you tried to fight too hard.
I was trying to push him back so you were in the fight also.
Lap over lap, I saw you guys getting a little bit larger. I'm like, yeah, slow each other down.
Well, yeah, nonetheless, congrats to both of you on yet another fun and exciting race. And hopefully it'll be the same next week.
Yep, looking forward to it. Bathurst spent in part of your guys' endurance event on a lot of time on the GT3, so excited to get on at GT4s. But yeah, no, thanks to everybody watching, to all the drivers on track, and you guys bringing the broadcast to everybody. It's a phenomenal job as always. You guys do great work, so keep it up.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I do have a question for you guys. How many track limits did you guys have in the first and second race, Austin?
I had 3 in both.
Two.
The first race I got my third one, I think, like halfway through, and had to drive a little passive for the rest of the race. But the last race I waited to use the last one for the last lap.
So and that was in the third sector when you went really wide on the fast right-hander, right?
Yeah.
I was watching that. I'm like, oh, he probably got one there, but that's crazy. And for those that don't really know and don't really understand what you're risking there, right? So again, you get 3 limits that the game will give you that, right? So you get first one, all right. If you gain an advantage, it'll give you a track limit. If you get a second one, track limit. Third one, track limit. On the fourth one, you get a drive-through penalty. And that really changes the dynamic of how well you're able to drive and how much you're able to optimize the line, because you really don't want to risk a small error at that, especially when you're battling in Austin's position, right? And being pressured from behind to make that slight error and go off track and get that drive through. Because while he may have lost a position, while he may have lost a position in driving a little slower, he would have lost many positions getting a drive through. So it's incredible that you were able to keep both him behind while having the 3 track limit warnings.
Yeah, it's even harder on this track because you have to cut so much. Like there's so much, just cut this corner, cut that corner, push as far as you can out on this curb, that it's really easy to get track limits around here. And especially with that Aston just all up in my rearview mirror, that adds a whole other element to just throwing me off for a second to miss a braking point or just take a corner too sharp and get another track warning.
Yeah, super fun. Well, great job, guys. Congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eric, and good luck to everybody in the open race coming up next.
I'm heading over there.
Mitch, you should be in the open race.
Yeah.
I think per league policy, as well as my new sim grid rating after a handful of races here, I think that's going to be the play.
Yeah, that's right. You did get. Yeah, so again, for those that don't know, in order for you to join the rookie championship, you have to have a rookie rating on SimGrid. Fortunately for Mitch, he was able to sneak in here before his rookie rating expired. By expired, I mean graduated into a intermediate driver. And congratulations on the graduation there. And I'm sure, Austin, you're not too far behind if you haven't already gotten into your.
Yeah, I'm up in the intermediate right now.
Okay, so these two are gonna be proudly kicked out of the rookie championship next season, but doing a fantastic job here today.
We won't see the last of me on Monday night, so that's for sure.
Fantastic. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Well, 2 fantastic races, 1 more to go. Kuja, that was a lot of action in those first 2 races.
Yeah, that was so much fun to watch. Battles all the way from first to second to third to 15th to 16th. It was so much for us to watch, so much for us to keep up with. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what these GT4 open cars will do for you, Ed.
Yeah, and while Kuja, you and I had the pleasure of enjoying the viewing of the race, we are joined by Tyler Morgan, who's going to be helping me stream the 3rd race of the night, the 2nd championship. Hello, Tyler. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How are you, Kuja?
Doing well. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what you guys got, and yeah, good luck, and I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you
Can't
so
wait to
much.
view your highlights.
Thank you so much, Kuja, and welcome, Tyler. Kuja, have a great evening, and maybe see you in chat if you have the time. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the rookie championship. We are now joined by the Tyler Morgan in our 2nd race, 2nd championship of the night. And why don't we go right into it, as qualifying has begun and the action and the fun is going to get going.
Yeah, coming out of that last race in the rookies was just absolutely mind-boggling. I was hearing about the stories from up in the front of the grid from Mitch while we were just in the chat together, and it was just mind-boggling to hear how the race was going up at the front. Too bad I can't see that from all the way at the back, but I can at least enjoy the 15 drivers we have here right now. Obviously, last week's winner here, Rivera, probably my favorite open driver so far. But we are running on board with Alex Hansen in the moment, getting ready on his outlap here at Misano. This track is both a love and a hate now. It's nice, but like that final sector, I just wanted to die.
So, Tyler, I have a bit of an adjustment. It sounds like you're far away from your microphone. Maybe if you can get a little closer to it and it'll be less echoey from us. But yeah, no, it's I'm excited to see what goes on today. Rivera, obviously incredible pace, incredible talent, but the car, I'm not quite sure how well it's suited. Is Alex Hansen's straight line speed going to be enough to challenge Rivera for the race? He tried really, really, really hard last week, just didn't quite have enough, but is tonight going to be his night? We have yet to see and are approaching the fun for sure.
Oh yeah, it's going to be interesting watching last week with them at a track that's a little bit even more harder than this one, and seeing how close Hansen was to winning that race as he currently heads down in through turn 1, turn 2 at the Curva Misano. It'll be really interesting to see. The straight line speed of that McLaren is absolutely beast. I put it up on par with the Aston Martin. But yeah, no, the Alpine is something I don't see very often, and it did its job. Hopefully Rivera won't have internet issues where he won't just disappear after the qualifying like he did the last time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, that's going to be a challenge for sure. Ricardo Rivera being in Puerto Rico, sometimes we do have connection issues. Now, I was glad to see that Diaz Herald didn't have any connection issues being from the Dominican Republic. I'm not sure. We've tried to evaluate and understand where these connection issues are coming from, but alas, sometimes they are quite evasive and difficult to find out. Hey, Kuja now in chat. Kuja, that was awesome. Thank you so much for streaming today. You did a fantastic job. I loved it today. We had so much action going on and such great flow. It was fun to stream, and looking forward to having that with you, Tyler.
Oh, it'll be a blast. Honestly, I think I'll have more fun doing this than when I was back in the rookies. All I know from race 1 is that both me and Nairati were in our own battles. Him for P2, fighting off 3 and 4, and I think me in like 15th or 14th at the end there. I just sent it a little too hard. I just couldn't get those brakes on in the final turns.
Hansen 7/10 behind Ricardo Rivera is gonna need to find some magic to give him a challenge today.
7/10. Where in the world has Rivera found that? Like, Hansen's got to have messed up a corner or something. There's no way Rivera's 7/10 faster. As we ride on board with Scott Sullivan now.
There's a way. There is a way.
Yeah, you cut every corner of the track.
No, that the Puerto Rican air has something very special in it, that's for sure. And Ricardo Rivera has been breathing quite a bit of that magic. He's got some incredible pace and yeah, these are the type of gaps that I expect to see when Rivera is on track.
I mean, just from what I gathered from last week, he was already like an absolute animal on the track. One of our resident analysts on site says McLaren does struggle around Misano.
That's interesting. I mean, you would think that it would have some good advantages considering the long straights that it has to go through. But Misano isn't just about straights. It's got some incredible technical sections of which you really have to be careful. And it could be Tyler, and this is just a guess, as it's been a very long time since I've driven the McLaren, that the auto brake bias could be a challenge for most to wrap their head around here at Misano.
Well, honestly, I'm not too in depth with cars, so I'll take your word for it. It's just like, for me, it's like the braking zones are set in my mind. It's just the traction is like 50-50 sometimes on whether you'll get it or not. Hansen's actually now down in P6. So something involving that McLaren is just not clicking, either the driver or the track. We'll find out, I guess, as qualifying rolls on. We still have 14 minutes here. 4 minutes for the pros and then 10 minutes for the rookies, which there are only 4 of them today. That's a little sad to see.
Yeah, I'm really bummed. I'm really bummed that all of the rookies aren't in the Open Championship. I mean, there really isn't anything you lose. It's just more racing. And if I were a rookie, which I once was, I'd be driving as much as possible if I had the time, which I don't. But yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. I was really hoping more people would join the race, but I think we're going to see an incredible race nonetheless, as we do have Shane DeMolin here from FNM, the Fear Nothing Moto car, the only Camaro on the field. Trying to put down a lap, looking for any advantages that he can gain, and there is no improvement for Shane in this lap.
Well, I was on the way of trying to catch a Camaro at the end of race 2, and I can tell you they are freaking quick in the straight. At least from what I was able to gather, they were quick in the straight. So, I mean, he's got 6/10 behind Rivera. Rivera, honestly, even if you gave all the other drivers like the entire qualifying time and gave Rivera like 2 laps, I'd still think Rivera would get pole.
Yeah, like I said, Rivera's got something magical that he's breathing in the air in Puerto Rico, and it is a 42.2, quite a fast lap. And actually, what's interesting is usually we see a pretty big discrepancy between the fastest rookies and the fastest open, but today it's actually quite tight.
What was the fastest lap in rookies? Because, like, for me, the fastest I got, mind you, it's pretty slow, is a 1:44.1. And I got that in the first race because I had, funny enough, I had Yan Tanashi behind me. They were pushing me like there was no tomorrow.
I believe the tied fastest lap in the first race was a 42.660, but I think that got bested in the second race with a 42.2 from Estevez, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, your broadcast partner for at least the rookies said, I think 42.6. So I guess take that from. Apparently, according to the chat, rookies had way better temps. I'm not going to confirm nor deny that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And we have JP Reed in chat here saying, I've done 0 laps in here in the Audi, but I feel like this would be an interesting circuit for the Audi GT4. Oh, I wonder if there's a way for you to prove that for us, JP, rather than chatting in chat. Maybe it's driving on the drive.
I will say the Mercedes sponsorship seems to not have worked from the last race, because there is now only like 4 Mercs here. So I guess the Mercedes AMG product plug didn't work out as well.
The 4 best Mercs, you mean to say, as we jump on board with Justin Beachley's fantastic Mercedes AMG.
I'm gonna have to deal with this for the rest of the season with the Mercedes product placement. Lord heaven help me.
Heck yeah, you are.
These are the final laps actually for the pros. So they got, oh my goodness, the Mercedes does drift, and he drifts out of track limits. I think that'll be the end for Beachley. I think he went off there just at the end. We got the 181 of Torres behind him, and then the 43 of Sullivan. Yep, and off they go. Let's see what Ramon Torres can do. He needs to, oh, nope, we won't find out what he can. Find out what the 43 can do either. They're all, oh my God, he slams the wall.
Just
on the way by.
Sending it. Practicing the pit entry. Very smart thing to do. Love to see it. We have Alex Freeman here actually on a heater. Up 2/10. That is going to be a position gained at the very least. And looking for further improvements.
Something the chat has noticed before I have noticed. Shane and Beachley have the same time. The exact same time. 0.660 behind Rivera. But let's see what Freeman can pull out. Maybe Freeman can get himself up to P4. Maybe even get into P2, because P3 would just not be the same. If he sets the same time as both of these guys, I will leave the broadcast booth.
Unfortunately for Freeman, that is not an improvement in the final lap. And fortunately for me, you will be remaining in the booth. And that is laps done for Freeman here. Now, okay, so this is going to be interesting. So Austin Doyle was in the previous race, and Austin Doyle was putting down, I believe, high 42, maybe low 43 for his quali lap. So this is going to be the real comparison. I think Austin is really going to get himself into potentially a top 5 position.
I would honestly agree with that. I never get to see him. He's all the way up at the front, so I'll have to take my Roddy's word on it that he's really freaking quick. I think he had a pit lane start or a quali ban in Watkins or in Snetterton. I don't know which one, but I can definitely see him getting in the top 5. Honestly, I would not be shocked if he finds himself in the front row, especially with the Shane and Beachley having identical times.
Yeah, that's going to be a tall order, but I'm not going to say impossible. I think Austin, is capable of doing it. We're just going to have to see if he's got the chops, if the practice in the rookies race, which is another reason why people should do the open series. Like, you get 2 practice sessions, huge practice sessions, and you come into the open series and get to race some more. Why not? I don't get it.
About to say, it's just like there was 15 here, but now there's only 14. I guess we lost somebody in the practice session. As Doyle rides along this back straight of death, as I call it, because you gotta hit that corner at full speed, then you gotta run out wide here, and then you gotta hit this corner at semi-full speed while braking. hit that apex there on the fourth turn, and that is what happens if you don't do it correctly. You go out wide and you invalidate.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Austin. It's kind of still his outlap though, so this is where he's gonna have to turn the afterburners on that purple, silver, and black Porsche. I almost said Mercedes because I got Mercedes on my mind, to try and find some magic to get himself up there. Mariko Yatanashi, first rookie to set a lap, still at the bottom of the table, is going to be looking for improvement there.
I think they'll find improvement. They were really fast when I was racing them. The only reason I got by them is they had a drive-through at the end there. They also gave me a little bump into turn one, so hoping for goodness because fellow rookie, but at the same time, don't improve. I mean, you're still 11th. You're not out of the running.
Yeah, and you just never know. Hopefully, the lap one is a bit cleaner than what we saw in the first race of the rookie series. But if it isn't, there's potential opportunity for Mariko to gain some positions in lap one. And, you know, getting a clean lap one goes a really, really long way. Avoiding incidents means a lot. And you're not just talking about tenths, which you really, really battle hard for lap after lap, but you're talking about whole tens of seconds after a spin and having to wait, etc., and really got to be careful about that.
Oh yeah, having a great start, especially at lap one, is very important. You're around other cars. You're trying so hard to like look for the gaps, but at the same time, you kind of just want to slot in and just give as much space as you can to the other drivers, but also maintaining your line as well. It's really crucial in that way. And I found myself, unfortunately, as Yantanashi goes ninth, taking over two pros, I found myself kind of unfortunately involved in first lap incident on race 2. I just kind of was on the outside and just car spun and I had nowhere to go. So that kind of ruined the momentum I had. But Doyle still yet to set a lap. Do they have a flair for the dramatics?
I think if I remember correctly, last race Doyle had no lap, and just at the very end, nailed it and went up into like P2 or P3. That was in the last race last week, and I think that I actually missed it and you called it out, which was a fantastic performance of Doyle, going from literally P last, I believe, with no time, all the way up into like P2 or 3, I think.
I think he was P5. He was in the top 5. I know that for certainty. Oh, he's heading down the back straight now. So this is he has I think maybe 2 more laps to try and get this done. If his tires aren't in absolute shreds, ideally they aren't, but we'll see.
Ricardo Rivera in chat asking for more horsepower in the Alpine because 0.6 isn't enough. Okay, relax there, buddy. Shout out to Ricky Racing PR, aka Ricardo Rivera, who is probably streaming his race. Are you streaming, Ricardo? Doyle coming in, putting down the lap. Doyle
he's
really
doing this on purpose.
Great. Yeah, so if you folks want to check out some first person action from P1, go check out Ricardo's stream. He is a phenomenal driver and a Trackalicious Pro team member, driving with the likes of Ali Raza, Quinn Smith, and Andy Borchers, doing a fantastic job in our pro teams, having done a race with SRA just this past weekend. Unfortunate drive through towards the end there and some contact taking us out of contention for the podium spot, but a strong race from the team nonetheless.
Doyle is definitely leaving this up to chance. Grumpy being saying that like you only get 2 to 3 laps of peak performance on these tires. I didn't get to participate in qualifying. I had a pit lane start to serve, but I can agree. Like after about like 10 laps of pushing, you're just like, these tires want to go off, they want to die. Ricky's saying everyone that is 6/10 slower than me is faster than me on the straight. It doesn't matter though, you're still 6/10 up, you don't get more of an advantage.
Does Austin Doyle put down a lap here?
I hope he does. He'll probably go like P6 if he does.
No, he doesn't. Struggling here.
I mean, he is on the end of his qualifying, so those tires are on righteously good fumes, but like only 11th?
Yeah,
You're kidding me.
So this is where those track conditions really come into play, and that is something that we'll have to pay attention to. Grumpy thinking that Austin was just being conservative, trying to get a lap in, trying to find improvement, but he's going to have to find loads of improvement to be anywhere in contention. A whole second, really, to get himself up into some meaningful top 5 stuff. Has 3/10 in the bag so far and looking for some more.
Yan Tanashi and Doyle, the only 2 left out on the track. Yan Tanashi a little bit more ahead than Doyle is right now. Just approaching the end of Sector 2, going on into Sector 3 now. Just getting to the part of the track I hate the most. Fast. Oh, wait, medium. Oh, slow brake. Oh, crap. There's the corner gone. And that's the end. Oh, keep it in track. Oh, my goodness. He's just within track limits there, if he is at all. That was like inches on the red and white curb, which you are allotted. Can he stay track? That looks fine to me. Yatanashi does go into the pits, so they won't improve. Can Doyle get something here? He's safe there. Can he cross the line and get some improvement? 9th only. He's the fastest rookie, but some time definitely left on the board, I feel like.
Well, I mean, let's not be too harsh on Doyle. He is a rookie after all, having graduated into intermediate class, but he is the top position for the rookie. So good job on that one on the very last lap. Always leaving it for the dramatic nature in which we have these things. But yeah, fantastic job on getting that P9 position. And Tyler, we have our grid here at Misano. Why don't we go ahead and have a look at what that looks like? And if you want to call it, you can go ahead.
All right, so obviously pole position, is there ever any doubt who it is? Ricardo Rivera in the Puerto Rico E Racing Club in that Alpine. The front dash still gives me nightmares. Nightmares for days. Then we got Shane Dumoulin in the Fear Nothing Moto. Chevy? Get used to this. That thing actually looks beautiful. Like, love the red, love the black, love everything about it. Beachley will be up next, P3 in the Mercedes that can seemingly solve all of the problems. Delicious. He'll be looking for that podium place. He'll be looking to keep that P3, maybe even challenge Rivera on the race. Next up behind him in the second row is Ramon Torres in the Puerto Rico E Racing Club in that Porsche. His teammates up in P1. Maybe they can get a 1-2 finish if things go right here. Next up behind him is Alex Freeman in the AF Sport Aston Martin. So far, good qualifying from him. He's got Scott Sullivan for company and another Mercedes 3-6 respectively. So let's see what he can do. That anime livery, can it spirit him into a podium position? Next, you have Alex Hansen, the man who was leading the race last week and lost it on a spin. It was so unfortunate, but it allowed Rivera to complete his last of first challenge. So let's see if he can get himself up into a podium position today. Next up behind him is Potts Weaver. Oh, it's a Charmin car. Oh, it's a Charmin Porsche. oh, that car is going to get so dirty by the end of this if he ends up in the grass and the gravel. Hopefully, Charmin can clean up all those messes. Doyle, the fastest rookie of the session, currently in 9th. He won both races in the rookies. Can he produce a miracle here in the pros and somehow get into a win and podium position? Yatanashi is in P10, the second fastest rookie. He's got Austin Doyle for company on that row. And Jason Provolone? Yeah, Provolone. Oh, it's okay. He's a cheese now. He's also in an Alpine, and he is in P11. For company with him, he's got Ulmer in the 22 Mercedes. That car actually still looks so gorgeous. The Voltron livery just makes me so happy to see that. And then on the last row of the grid, we have Dr. Porkchop. He got a little bit unfortunate in the rookie, so he's hoping for a little bit of success here. And then we got Wade Jorgensen in the 6-star Racing AMG Mercedes from Down Under. And that completes the grid as they start their formation lap.
Yeah, Wade Jorgensen seemingly rotating through a variety of cars here. And yeah, Jason Pro, I know you're relatively new. Jason Provolone, aka the Cheeseman, here at Trackalicious. And we actually have I don't know if I've shown you this, Tyler, but let's see if this works. But we do have a soundboard for Provolone.
Oh no.
The Cheese Man.
Oh my. Oh my.
So fun fact for those that don't know, that is actually the same guy that voices the Halo multiplayer mode.
How? There has to be a backstory. There has to be a story on how he got.
Hey,
there has to be.
We are
Trackalicious.
we make things happen, my friend. So yeah, those that are looking for some fun in the Trackalicious server, check out the soundboard. We got a bunch of soundboard bites in there from the guy, the very same guy that voiced the Halo multiplayer mode.
All right, the formation lap. We're just about to go double file here. This is the time where they would give us the notice to go double file. Everyone's trying to get their tires warm. The GT4s don't have tire blankets, so it's just a cold, wet brick that's on your car right now, and everyone's speeding up to go double file right now. We're going to ride on board with Beachley, probably the best chance to maybe get into P2. Rivera's going to have to do what am I saying? He's not going to have to defend. He's going to just drive off in turn 2 and win the race.
You never know.
Unless someone bits him, that is entirely a possibility.
Misano, first couple corners are quite challenging, so we're really hoping to see if Shane can pull something off, maybe challenge Rivera on the back straight even if he's able to stay close. Looks like we have a situation here where one of the cars is a bit out of position. Looks like Freeman, we're missing a car. That looks like Alex Hansen's back there. We're missing somebody for sure. Like you mentioned earlier, the 15 cars going down to 14. It is a fantastic start for Dumoulin here in P1 now, overtaking Rivera right into T1. Rivera deciding caution is the best position for him and going to be using his incredible pace. Dumoulin here into P1, trying to maximize every possible corner to see if that Camaro can really take advantage of a pace differential between themselves and the Alpine on the straight. Everybody seeming to get through pretty safely through the first couple corners and onto the back straight. Love seeing that non-yellow flag snake come through the mid straight, not in the back straight, the mid straight here, as Rivera still into P2 is going to have quite a battle ahead of him here, Tyler.
Yeah, definitely. So far, it doesn't look like very much has changed other than the P1, P2. Rivera going to have to do a little bit of battling. Ramon Sullivan He's got to find a way to get by, maybe help his teammate up ahead. But as it stands right now, we get to the back straight where the toe is just incredible if you've lined it up good enough. And Ramon Torres is right on the back of Sullivan. We actually have a side-by-side battle there, as I'm pretty sure that is the McLaren of Hansen trying to get a race on the, I don't know who's behind him. It's definitely, that is so deep inside for Hansen. Ramon Torres is sticking to the back of Sullivan, though, not giving him an opportunity, as there's a side-by-side battle going on back there. It is absolute pandemonium lap one, and Torres is actually going to be under pressure by Freeman here down the straight. That Aston Martin is going to pull a little bit, and Ramon Torres is trying to pull on the Mercedes, but the Mercedes is just too good down the straights.
That's 2 positions gained for Scott Sullivan on lap 1. A fantastic opening lap performance, and is going to have quite a handful behind him with Ramon Torres, Alex Freeman, and Alex Hansen all behind looking for position. As you can see, the pace showing a little bit here, as Scott's going to be continuing to look to improve as the train builds up behind him. You have Torres, you have Freeman, you have Hansen, you have the Charmin of Weaver and Doyle just behind, all ready to pounce, and Scott's going to be looking ahead to try and maximize the successive corners to see if there's any way that he can build a gap.
Hansen down the inside of Freeman there. What a late move by Hansen there, but manages to get it. Congrats to him. Freeman's going to try and fight back, but it's just no use. Hansen's completed the overtake. His next target is Ramon Torres, and that McLaren's definitely showing off that straight line speed now, as look at him gain on Ramon Torres.
Yeah, as Hansen gains on Torres, quite a few battles going on behind here. The cheese man of Jason Provolone in the Alpine getting threatened by the straight line speed of the fantastic and lovely looking Voltron Mercedes of George Elmer.
Jan Tanashi has a gaggle of cars behind them. They're just, a couple cars going wide. Track limits, especially in the open. In the rookies, you have 20 minutes. In the open, you have 50 to carry 3 plus 1 to the drive-through. But as it stands right now, as we just go single file, slowly, quote unquote, down the main straight, we're just, someone's getting a little bit squirrely ahead. I believe that is Ramon Torres, as he's actually lost a few positions now. He's down into P7. He's actually under threat from the rookie of Doyle. Oh, is that an inside move maybe? No. Has he actually lost a position to Doyle? He has.
Let's have a quick look and see what happened here. Composite, when does Max race? I'm not sure which Max you're referring to, but this is our last race of the night. If you're talking about Max Verstappen, we sent him an invite. But unfortunately, because we are Mercedes biased right now in the rookie championship, he's not quite happy with us. And the boss lady redeeming a hydrate. Thank you very much, boss. Always watching out for my well-being.
The Ultra Charmin car, the Ultra Soft Charmin car goes into the lovely livery, is going to become absolutely dirty, and I don't think Charmin's going to be able to clean up that mess.
Great line there, as that is 5 positions down for Potts Weaver, now looking ahead to try and take advantage of a move. Ricardo Rivera now trying to challenge Dumoulin here, as it's not just Rivera, now Beachley trying to take advantage of the situation. Unfortunately for Rivera, that straight line speed really coming into play here, as Dumoulin here and managing to keep the inside line, and the Mercedes now challenging Rivera. There might have been a bit of a bump as they went under the banner, they're under the bridge here at Misano. That's a really long bridge. I just noticed across 3 or 4 sections of the track, as Rivera looks on the inside, Dumoulin on the outside. Look at the size differential between the 2 cars. Dumoulin does concede, but I'm sure is going to be doing that just to try and see if there's an advantage that can be gained onto the straight. Rivera gets a fantastic exit. Dumoulin trying to tuck into the whatever type of draft that he can get from that tiny Alpine. The Mercedes now looking to challenge the Camaro. The Mercedes looking on the inside. Beachley does manage to get that position secured, and Dumoulin going from P1 all the way down into P3. That's 2 positions lost in 1 lap. Now Beachley looking ahead to see if there's anything he could do to Ricardo Rivera, who has regained P1 position.
That was an absolute battle. Rivera letting Dumoulin go wide. Beachley licking his chops, trying to find a moment where he could insert himself into that battle, and he found it, and he found it real well. Shane has got to just breathe. There's only 7 minutes elapsed in this race. There's still plenty of time to get yourself back there, and he's still right on the back of Beachley. So this could be anyone's race still with 43 minutes left to go. And it is an absolute war. Rivera is punched to the gas pedal. He is, get me out of here. Get me out of here now. I do not want to be in this battle any longer than I have to. And he's already almost found a full second away from Beachley and Shane there.
Yeah, Dumoulin going to be kicking himself in the butt for that one. Letting Rivera go is probably the biggest error of the race here so far, because we know Rivera has the pace, and not only that, but letting Beachley go through. The battle between these two is gonna just play into Rivera's favor. These two are gonna be continuing the battle, and Rivera's gonna continue to build the gap and build the gap and build the gap. And unfortunately for Beachley, he just cannot find the straight line speed or sufficient straight line speed to get back at Rivera, as like you said, the gap now over a second getting out of that draft that he was able to get from the previous lap.
Beachley's just like, man, why does he run away? Ramon Torres has had a not so good race, at least the start. He was up in P4. He's now found himself in P8 behind the rookie of Doyle. Doyle, despite being P9 in qualifying, has found himself a little bit of a good groove here. He's found himself P7. He's 2 seconds behind Freeman, but nothing a little undercut or an overcut can't fix. So yeah, he's found himself in a nice little pretty spot. However, Ramon Torres is a very angry man right now, and he is just trying desperately to get behind. And that is what is happening back there? Is that like a 4-way battle in the background?
Having a look here, don't quite see the deltas that we would need. They are pretty close, but just not quite within striking distance yet. We do see Ramon Torres down 4 positions, having the biggest loss equal to Potts Weaver, as we did see Potts go off in the Charmin Porsche earlier. Provolone now still charging at George Elmer. The straight line speed of the Mercedes just playing into the advantage of Elmer, and you can see how much they gap as they go straight. So we see a bit of a glitch on the pit straight there, as the game trying to decide whether there's an additional car there or not, but doesn't look like it. And I say game in love, most would call it a sim, which it is both, I would say.
Porkchop had a little bit of a moment there back there. He's found himself all the way at the back. He's almost like 12, 13 seconds back now. I wonder what happened there.
Let's have a look at the replay.
Oh, a little bit of contact and spin themselves out.
That is a very odd behavior from Porkchop there. Not quite sure what's happening. Potentially punishing himself for the contact. I'm not quite sure. That seems like an equipment situation there, if I were to guess. But Porkchop getting himself well behind the grid now, 15 seconds behind for that pirouette, let's call it, in the final sector here at Misano.
Hansen now trying to get up into P4. He's had himself has had himself a good start to the Doyle has. He's gotten some positions gained, and right now he's trying to strike at the Mercedes and Sullivan. He's got the straight line speed, but also the Mercedes also has good straight line speed. So it's going to be a battle of who can be better in the corners. It's all going to come down to who has the better exit, who has the better entry. The straight line speed here is pretty much tied.
Yeah, the one thing that looks like Sullivan is going to have the advantage. And correction to that in the Hansen's P5, not 4, is that Hansen does have the draft, which Sullivan doesn't. So with the straight line speed and the draft, I would argue that Hansen has the advantage continuing to battle for that P4 spot.
This is quite close. Like, Sullivan's only not even that. I mean, he's 3 P3, but it's still not out of reach if, like, they have a spin, they take a corner wrong. It's like, it's not out of reach for really any of these drivers to get some improvement and get some places. So with the only 10 minutes, 12 minutes have elapsed in this race so far, we still got plenty of go. Dumoulin's still on the back of Beachley. Rivera's kind of gotten away a little bit, but yeah, Hansen getting a little deep there, but I wonder if that's intentional to just try and get a different line. As Pottsweaver is just sticking onto the back of Yamtanashi, trying to find any sort of room. Can he clean up a nice move here and just set the table for a great overtaking opportunity?
Yeah, it looks like Potts is doing everything he can to try and gain advantage of the situation here. He probably has the pace, as we do see Potts's best lap as a 43.8 and Mariko's best lap as a 44.6. So Potts having the pace advantage for sure, but as we say, pace is one thing, overtaking is completely another. They are two separate skills. Having the pace does help the overtaking, make the overtaking easier, but you're still gonna have to know how to do it.
I think the first opportunity here is going to be this straight, as long as they get a better exit, and it does not look like it. So that opportunity might be foregoed. The next best opportunity is going to be in the hairpin, should a chance come up, but then after that, you're kind of just waiting for turn 4 as your next best overtaking opportunity. There's not really a lot of hard braking zones here at Misano. They're kind of medium high speed corners.
Yeah, Pottsweaver falls behind a little, but it looks like Yatanashi now trying to gain on the likes of the Cheeseman. Jason Provolone just up ahead, and George Elmer up ahead of that. So this is a fun little group that are really battling for position. While there is a second between them, a single mistake could result in multiple positions lost, and that is definitely something that George Elmer is going to be very conscious of to try and keep his laps clean, keep off of the curbs, keep off of the sleeping policemen, as the Top Gear entertainers would call it, rolling in and out of these corners.
Definitely want to make sure that you don't take an unnecessary track limit warning or even a penalty this early on in the race. Ramon Torres still sticking to the back of Doyle. Doyle's got to be thinking, what do I got to do to shake this guy? Torres is like, what do I got to do to pass this guy? Like, oh, he's taking a little, that was a little squirrely there by Ramon Torres. Good catch, though, as he's going to stay right on the back of Doyle as we head down the mid-straight here. Ramon Torres it's equal machinery here, so he doesn't really have an advantage. The only advantage he has is his experience. Doyle being a rookie, Torres being a pro. There's a little bit of pride here especially from Doyle, keeping this pro behind him. Any fight for position from any driver is going to bring obviously pride involved in it. But when you know that, like, you have a class of a higher driver behind you, and knowing you can keep him behind you just makes you feel a little bit of goodness inside.
Yeah, while Doyle does not have a slipstream and Torres does, it looks like Torres is carrying a bit of damage, which could be affecting that straight line speed. Doyle, oh my goodness.
Contact. Unfortunate for Ramon and Doyle. They were having a nice close to close race, and that's going to allow Torres the opportunity to at least get close enough. Doyle kept the position, which was good, but this is just going to allow Ramon Torres to get an even better slipstream and possibly make this move here, or at least keep close enough to get the overtaking opportunity into turn 4. Oh, is he gonna? Nope, he doesn't lose it there. He's still got it, and this is the over into turn 4. Doyle's gonna take the inside. Ramon's gonna take the outside, and they're side by side here. And Doyle is gonna win out just for now, but there's still another opportunity here as they go almost touch again. And down the mid straight, we get a little bit of a reprieve with Doyle still hanging on to 7th.
Ooh, looks like this battle is heating up. Provolone having dropped down. Something must have happened to him. Not quite sure what.
I was focusing on the battle ahead. I didn't really see if there was a yellow flag or not, but Potts Weaver definitely trying his best. Ooh, did they pit? Ooh, they pit. That's why. That's why they're so far back. They've pitted.
Good look. Oh, looks like Torres did make the move work. So let's get to the replay and see what happened. Torres, I think that was just a missed breaking point. Unfortunately, Doyle having a good head on his shoulders, managed to keep the position from earlier, but looks like there has something has happened between Doyle and Torres, where Doyle goes wide and slips on the curb on the dirty line, and that is move done for Torres. Ultimately, the patience paying out and Torres getting ahead. Now Doyle's chance to apply the pressure, as the entire, I think it was the whole previous race in the rookie series, race 2, Doyle was under immense pressure for that P1 spot, so he was no stranger to the pressure, now reversing the role of applying pressure.
Definitely, Doyle can definitely get this done. Torres just kind of needs to get out of there as fast as he can. Just gotta leave this rookie behind you. You can't focus on that. You gotta catch Freeman, who's a ways up the road by now. He's about 6 seconds up the road. So, but Doyle's not gonna let this opportunity slide by. He's gonna attempt to try and get P7 back and at least keep it close, but he's got a little bit of a ways to work now. He is starting to slowly fall behind Torres as different lines get taken and different braking zones get tested. And we are now approaching pit stop times, so we'll see who decides to go for the undercut or who decides to stay out long.
Yeah, the 25-minute mark being the halfway point for the race. Misano, renowned for chewing up tires, and I believe the temperatures here today are quite a bit higher than they were in the rookie series, so more tire chewing for these folks. So the optional 5-second, for those who don't know, it's a mandatory 25-second pit stop and a 5-second optional tire, which the team is going to decide whether they want to take or not. Now, Provolone, Weaver going in for an early pit stop. Provolone up front. Looks like Weaver has the pace advantage. Again, 2/10 faster on his fastest lap than Provolone has. But while Misano does have quite a few long straights, it just doesn't seem to be the easiest place to overtake, as now they are 1 and 2 of the pitted cars, looking out to see where the other cars will play out when they do take their pit stops.
Yeah, the Weaver's trying to clean up this melted cheese that's spilled all over his countertop right now, trying to get any type of leverage at all. Really sticking ahead of it. Can't find any way to just get by him at all. He's at least keeping it close, so he's got that going for him. But he's just got to find something. You just got to make the move here. As the cheese man defends the inside, not allowing the opportunity. Oh! That was almost a rear end collision. I don't know if Weaver either was carrying too much speed or didn't think that the cheese man was going to break there in time. But good accident avoidance by the Charmin of Weaver there, as he's going to go a little bit deep. Hopefully that's not a track limit warning for him. I don't know how many he has, but Weaver's got to catch back up now and potentially get there quickly, because you don't want to allow the cheese man to just drive away, not after a situation like that.
Yeah, as we go back to the leaders, Justin Beachley tempting fate on track limits on the exit of the final corner there. Now 2.4 seconds behind Ricardo Rivera. It's going to be down to these pit stops. Is there anything that Beachley can do to maximize his pit stop over Ricardo Rivera? Rivera having the pace advantage is going to really want to question whether he takes tires or not. What is the play? What is the optimal strategy? What if he decides the wrong thing? Is he going to end up behind? Is he going to do it just for fun? We don't know, but hopefully we'll get to see some great action between these front runners as Hansen continuing to challenge Scott Sullivan for that P4 spot.
Yeah, he has not let Sullivan go, and Sullivan's desperately trying to just keep him off, just keep it at least somewhat handled to the pit stops. And all of these drivers are just edging the limits of the track right now, just slowly testing its limits and trying to figure out, okay, is this good? Is this good? Is this good? And we'll be interested to see how many, if any, drivers actually get a drive-through by the end of this race. And this so far is the closest battle we have right now. As zoom they go by. Hansen, I think Hansen's going to try here. I think he thought about it maybe for a minute, but Sullivan is just keeping it nice and tidy, not giving the McLaren any room as Hansen thought about going up the inside there, but he's just a little too far behind towards space right there. And Sullivan is going to run away, at least for now, but this is where the straight line speed comes in for both. Hansen's got the draft, Sullivan does not. Freeman also has a draft. All three of the fastest straight speed cars, the Merc, the McLaren, and the Aston. And Hansen's getting really close now. Elmer's gone into the pits for his pit stop. Yatanashi's also gone in for their pit stop. Hansen, now might be the time. Do you throw a dive in here? No, you don't. You just stay put. You stay waiting. There's got to be an opportunity. You got to do it soon. Either that or just go into the pits and undercut him. That would be my thing for Hansen there. Just undercut him. If you undercut him, you might actually get him.
I think I agree with you there, Tyler. I think the undercut is the move for Hansen here. He does have 4/10 pace in hand, and given that they're only 3/10 distance from each other, I think that's the move. The earlier he goes, if he throws himself into the pits, maximizes his pit entry and exit, I think that's a move that he's gonna come out being a winner. It just seems like Scott Sullivan is doing a fantastic job defending against Hansen, and Hansen's ultimately just losing out time to the drivers ahead, because while his challenge is Scott Sullivan ahead, I know Hansen's ambitions are much greater than that in trying to find a podium spot for this race.
Especially after what happened last week, where the race win just fell out of his fingers and the sand slowly falls through. Hansen getting even closer each time we go through that area. He just can't get enough. Do any of them dive into the pits? Sullivan does. Sullivan dives right into the pits, making sure not to make contact with the wall. And honestly, Sullivan might have had the best play there. Don't risk being overtaken. Just undercut Hansen, and I think Hansen might lose out on a position here because of that move.
I'm not so sure, Tyler. I don't know if I would have done the same thing. As the slower car, I would want to be trying to hold up these guys as much as possible. Maybe he knows, maybe both of you guys know something that I don't know. But if I'm Scott Sullivan there, I'm trying to defend against these guys as much as possible. Try to force them into errors. Try to make them use up their tires. Just do anything that I can to disturb the flow. Try and make him go wide even on a particular corner to avoid hitting me, given that I'm, seemingly the slower car on track. Now that he's released Hansen looking to maximize his corners by missing the apex there by a mile, but that every tenth, every millisecond here is going to be something that Hansen's going to want to optimize to try and see if he's able to come out in front of Scott Sullivan as the pits play themselves out.
Did Porkchop miss the pit and drive backwards? Did I just see that correctly? I saw the yellow flag and I looked up. I'm looking at the track map and I think Porkchop either just reversed or straight up drived backwards to get into the pits there. We don't need to see the replay. I'm just going to be interested to find out if that's what he did or not. Potts Weaver currently up in P10, got the overtake done on the Cheeseman, eventually got that opportunity, cleaned up the mess, moved on, threw it in the trash, and is now trying to get to Yan Tanashi, who's up in P9 and not too far away. Hansen does pit now, though. So let's see who wins out on that battle, Sullivan or Hansen. As Hansen goes into the pits, Ramon Torres also follows behind. Freeman elected to stay out. So it'll be interesting to see where Hansen comes out relative to Sullivan, as Sullivan is now heading down the straight. Now, mind you, they could take tires, they could take not fuel, kind of this doesn't matter situation. So we'll see how it goes. As the clock slowly ticks down, as Sullivan slowly approaches the pit straight, these seconds feel like hours, they feel like minutes. When you're trying to drive against someone that you know is coming. Oh my goodness! Oh right, I forgot the pit limiter line's all the way at the end.
Yeah, let's not forget there's a lot of pit to be had here, and going into the helicam, I'm sure we're gonna see Scott Sullivan coming through these first couple of corners as Hansen gets released. Is that gonna be a corner that goes to Scott Sullivan? Is it gonna be Hansen? Hansen does seem to get ahead. A little cold tire action here, but that is move done for Hansen for the time being, and Scott Sullivan's going to be looking to take advantage of his warmed and prepped tires as Hansen does nail a big bump there, a big curve. Scott Sullivan now tucking behind and is going to want to see if there's any advantage he can gain through these first couple of corners.
Those tires will be cold for Hansen. Sullivan's really got to attack here. He's got to get really close up to Hansen, because once those tires get warm for Hansen, I think he's done. What a good lap by Hansen to make sure that Sullivan doesn't have the opportunity to undercut him. What a beautiful, beautiful in lap.
Hansen does go wide, though. This might be the opportunity Sullivan was looking for, but that McLaren looks immense on the straight, gapping Sullivan, even though Sullivan has a draft of the McLaren up ahead.
Rivera and Freeman now both pit. Rivera having pit stop and now currently going down the pit lane line slowly but surely. He's not really under threat from anyone right now. Not even under threat from Hansen. They'll be nowhere close. As Pork Truck gets a drive through 4 track limits, as Scott Sullivan still tries to find Hansen, but unless Hansen has another big oopsie like he did the last time, I think you were right. I think boxing might not have been the play there.
Yeah, like I said, if I'm the car ahead and if I'm holding cars behind, I'm going to force them to make the move. And unfortunately for Freeman, there's no advantage gained there. Freeman coming out to the back of this pack as he was, but it's going to be looking to attack Scott Sullivan ahead. It's going to be tough. Both super fast straight line cars in the McLaren and the Mercedes up ahead. That Aston's going to have a lot of work ahead of him to try and figure out something to do. And in the meantime, we have another group battle brewing here between Austin Doyle, Mariko Yatanashi, and Potts Weaver. All three have very similar pace and are going to be looking to try and get up to that P9 position of Mariko Yatanashi.
I think Potts Weaver might be in the best opportunity here, especially with 2 rookies who are fighting for personal pride here. A little bit of contact could go along with Weaver here. And there's also not too far behind you have Elmer and the Cheeseman. So by all means, one mistake from Doyle here could see himself in P8 go all the way down to P12 as Yan Tanashi, they're going to try and get this straight line speed advantage. It's going to be really tight here. They just file one after another. Weaver looking for an opportunity, hoping that Yan Tanashi and Doyle make contact or at least have a mistake that he can take advantage of. But right now, Doyle seems to be holding control right now, not allowing Yan Tanashi a chance, a sniff at an overtake for that P8 position.
Yeah, Austin again doing immense defensive work here. But Yatanashi on the charge. Again, just amazing what the size difference of the two cars is, with the Aston being so much bigger than the Porsche up front. And in real life, these cars aren't big cars. They're tiny compared to what you're used to in your regular sedan or whatever else it is that you drive, especially in my giant Wagoneer, having to haul 4 kids around. Would probably fit one of these or both of these cars into the into the back of our Wagoneer if we needed to. But still, even the difference between the Aston and the Porsche is incredible. That size difference is just nuts. Oh, Weaver gets a drive-through.
Oh, that's so unfortunate. The Charmin cannot clean up that, sadly. And it's just going to be disappointment as he's going to fall down into P12. You have 3 laps to take that drive-through. And that, sadly, is something you can't negotiate with the game or the stewards.
Yeah,
that's just unfortunate.
You're right. There's no amount of plies that you could wipe that drive-through away with. That is tough.
That is too big of a mess for even Charmin to clean up. Yatanashi's going to try and just get Doyle here, but Doyle just... It's like Yatanashi gets close in Sector 1, but just can't... Doyle just gets away in Sectors 2 and 3.
John Hawley suggesting that Potts invest in a bidet.
Maybe. If Yatanashi, ooh, there's the overtaking opportunity. Not yet, apparently. I'm there to take. Dumoulin has not pit yet. He has gone almost 35 minutes on these tires.
You know what? This could be a smart thing to do, to seek the alternate strategy to see if the no tire strat's going to work out for him. Hey, he was in P3. Go for it, right? I mean, this would have been a strategy that he would have selected right from the start of the race, and going probably full fuel, I suppose, or whatever fuel that he needed. Actually, that doesn't make any sense. If you have a 25-second minimum fuel requirement, minimum pit requirement, I guess you still would want to go half and half and just don't take tires. So I'm curious to see why Shane's going long and how he's able to do that. He would have filled in more fuel. Maybe isn't aware of the minimum 25-second rule, which would be really unfortunate for Shane.
I mean, Rivera's almost like half the track of a gap right now. Like, Rivera's just approaching the pit straight, and Shane's already past the mid straight. We're going to get a gap of how far he is. Oh, no, we're not. Apparently the gap's just too big for the screen to at least say. So he's got to be at least like 35, 40 seconds ahead of Rivera. So as long as he doesn't take tires, he might have this here. We might have the situation that happened with Hansen last week, where Hansen went long, built the gap, and then just sadly lost it at the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I don't know if Shane's gonna come out ahead. Maybe he's gonna come out ahead, but he's gonna have an incredibly difficult time to try and keep that Camaro straight with the tires being burned up for so long. The Alpine in Rivera's control, and we're gonna find out. We are going to find out as Dumoulin goes in for the pit. Looks like he optimizes the pit entry fairly well. And this is going to be something we're going to have to pay attention to. We do have some battles between Weaver and Yatanashi, but Weaver is still looking to serve that drive-through penalty. Now, Dumoulin in the pits. Remember, we have that huge pit exit that they have to deal with. So is this going to be a point in which Rivera overtakes, or Dumoulin gets ahead and does not, and defends like mad, like a lion?
There's a big gap right now between Beachley and Hansen. So maybe Dumoulin can get out ahead of Beachley, but not ahead of Rivera. But Rivera, I think Rivera's going to definitely one back. That's not a question. Where is Dumoulin going to come? Oh, is he about to enter this battle with Hansen, Sullivan, and Freeman? Oh, give me a four-way battle, please. Actually, nope, Beachley's going to get ahead just fine. And I don't think Hansen, Sullivan, and Freeman are going to get here in time for this battle, because there is the pit lane limiter, and off he goes.
Yeah, he's in a world of his own.
Unless he decides to spin and make things interesting, and then we get a three-way battle. We get a four-way battle for.
Yeah,
That'd be nice.
Why don't we jump into VC and make an explicit request for some action?
Hey, can you guys pull over, please?
Well, there is action to be had as Yatanashi and Austin Doyle here going around who I presume to be Dr. Porkchop. Porkchop trying to stay wide. Oh my goodness, cause a situation for Doyle. The lapped car of Porkchop in the middle of a battle.
That was so. Oh.
No.
Where did everyone go?
No. We were doing so well.
Slight technical difficulties, folks. As right as the action gets so suspenseful, it just disappears. What's happened? We need to know.
Okay, we're back. We are back.
And so far, Hansen has kept his lead. Yatanashi has stayed ahead of Doyle. Porkchop definitely throwing a wrench into those plans.
But Elmer's
gone by.
Yeah, Elmer takes that spot.
Oh my, Elmer's taken. Oh, Doyle might be thinking about an overtake. Those positions back. Some rookie on rookie shenanigans being had there, and I think Doyle was just going wide regardless. Porkchop had anything to do with that matter. Is Doyle, do you know what he had for lunch? You're just right up in the exhaust fumes. Nope, not late braking. He's just gonna slip behind Elmer right now and bide his time, look for an opportunity, look for a corner that he can maybe get over this Mercedes. But the Mercedes is just so strong. That's why we love them at Trackalicious.
Yeah, the lovely, curvaceous sex appeal of the Mercedes AMG GT being charged by the Porsche here. Porsche actually having pretty decent straight line speed. Looking on the outside of the Mercedes of George Elmer, and the Voltron vehicle is gonna be under pressure. We know Doyle has quite good pace, and unfortunately, due to the situation with Dr. Porkchop being a lapped car, I think it did have an effect, to be honest with you. I think it did have an effect for Doyle. It's, you know, that those corners are super tough offline, and when you do go offline, there's just not enough grip, and I think that's what set Doyle off wide, and not only losing one spot but losing two spots to both Yatanashi and George Elmer. He's gonna want those positions back. He has 10 minutes and 33 seconds to do it. That is quite a bit of time to build up another challenge, a charge for those two positions to get back up into eighth spot.
I was just about to say Freeman's got to be frustrated. He's like this has just been a battle that's lasted tales of time. You're gonna read about this battle to your grandchildren. It just seems to be never ending. Hansen's gotten a little bit away from Sullivan there, but Freeman's just looking for any kind of ability to try and get past this wide body Merc, and there just seems to be no opportunity as Freeman takes an interesting line going wide over the curbs there, and maybe trying to get some exit speed over the Mercedes, but it just doesn't seem to be working. He's getting a little bit closer with the draft, though. But the problem is that Sullivan also has the draft ahead of him. So the only way you're going to be able to get him is in the corners.
Yeah, and the straight line speed of the McLaren not really helping either one of these two in the back out. And looks like Austin Doyle building up a challenge to George Elmer does have the inside to the kink here in the back straight. Gets the advantage. Huge breaking point for these two. Gonna really want to focus not to get a track limit warning there. And looks like that is position done and dusted for Austin Doyle. Now looking up ahead to Mariko Yatanashi. Gonna have to chase that one down, Austin, and make this show go all the way to the end.
I try and do that and I die. He does it and it works. How is that fair? What is this? It's not fair at all. Got Freeman following behind, still following behind Sullivan. No, honestly, did we just go back 2 minutes? It literally is the same gap, same time. Like nothing seems to have changed here. If I'm Freeman, it's going to be hard not to get frustrated here. Like you have the same pace as the driver ahead of you, but they're just giving you nothing in terms of giving you a chance to even sniff an overtake.
Yeah, I think if Alex is able to walk away from Sullivan, then that's going to be big problems for Scott, because not having the draft is going to really put him under pressure from Alex Freeman just behind.
I think Elmer and Doyle made contact because Doyle's yellow flagged.
Oh my goodness.
Did they make contact? Because it was really... Because I saw yellow in the back there. Let's see what happens. Oh, he dives up the engine. Oh, so it's safe region. Oh, that's contact as the hill that is in that corner slowly slides you down. I don't know if he hit the cheese man or the pork chop. Either way, he took a food with him. So there goes that battle. Oh, Doyle's gonna drive through!
Oh my goodness me.
What has happened? The seeds of absolute mayhem just go on and on. Doyle avoided the dive bomb from Elmer only to get a drive through. No! Oh, what has happened? The heartbreak as Doyle's dreams of being the highest rookie go down in flames here at Masato.
I quote Ja Rule from Fast and Furious and say, Monica! Oh my goodness.
Heartbreak at the end. Freeman hoping that Sullivan has 3 warnings and is hoping for a drive-through from him. That's not his only hope, but his best hope at getting the position ahead, because Sullivan does not look like he's going to gain it or give it away for free.
I have to say, Doyle was tempting fate there. He just came in and having won race 1 and race 2 in the rookie series, and saying that he had three track limits halfway through the race in the first race, and then gained his last track limit in the last lap of the last race. But while immense luck and maybe concentration and focus may have been in his favor in the first 2 races, definitely not on his side in this race here today.
I echo my fellow countryman and my fellow friend. My disappointment is immeasurable, and that could have been Doyle. Doyle was on the charge. They definitely could have gotten Yatanashi, but it's just all for naught. The drive-through ends that battle, and now Doyle is in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I'll have you guys know, and Mitch, you'd appreciate this, and you could see this in the replay later. Tyler, it's representing a good old win from this last Thursday, you know? Little Maple Leaf representation. If that wasn't enough, we got some more underneath. Double Canadaing it up in here. Proud of what the boys were able to achieve on the ice. Yeah, not a sore subject at all for... I'm not going to open up that can of worms, as I do live in the United States.
No.
As I do live in the United States, but proud of the win for the boys. And yeah, it'd be sweet to get one of those jerseys. Those jerseys look freaking awesome. Yes, I have been singing "Oh Canada" several times this week to myself, as I am the only Canadian in the household. But Freeman now closer than ever, looking to charge Scott Sullivan with 3 minutes and 45 seconds left in the race. Is there anything Freeman can do to make that overtake happen? Alex Hansen walking away a little bit. Freeman looking for any advantage that he can gain.
There's Freeman trying to find maybe a little bit of a, as we get into the final stages of the. He's looking for any little slip up. Did Hansen have a mistake? That he was much farther away. At least I felt like he was much farther away than he was now. And that's actually Hansen all the way. Ooh, actually Dumoulin's not that far ahead of Hansen. Actually, he's 2.5. So South Park told me to blame Canada. Are you saying that wrong? Yes, your TV is very much wrong. The only thing that you can, I guess, blame Canada for is creating poutine. Like, that might be the only thing that you could probably blame Canada for, is that delicacy.
Well, Mitch in chat saying having this proud to be Canadian in a decade. I mean, that's probably because of our modest nature, right? Canadians, are nice and modest, and we don't show our pride out that much. But this is one where we had to show a little bit of a little bit of flair. Oh, what's going on? What is that car doing? Georgeson getting out of the way only to allow these to battle. A question from Adam Strange asking for 5 reasons that Brazil is awesome. Let me see if I can come up. They have a pretty cool language. Portuguese is super fun. They have a phenomenal football team. And by football, I mean football, the one that's played with the feet. Soccer for those of you in North America. They have the fantastic Amazon rainforest, the majority of it in their country. They are one of the largest countries in the world. And Tyler, I'm not sure if I've taken the best ones, but you got one for me here?
They provided one of the best. They provided one. And that was the absolute shellacking. That's probably one of my favorite moments with Brazil.
I have to say, your voice got cut out there. So what was the 5th one?
Their shellacking that they got from Germany, the 2014 World Cup.
I mean, that was one instance. I'm not sure the Brazilians are going to be too happy about being reminded of the shellacking that they got from the Germans.
Freeman trying to look for any opportunity, and he's just not getting it. As Rivera currently has the fastest lap and is approaching the line for the final race, or final lap of this race. So the clock is ticking for Freeman. He's got to at least force Sullivan to, you got to force a move here if you want this top 5. So get on your horse and get going, because you're running out of time.
I'll add the 5th one being that they have fantastic beaches. Let's go with that. But yeah, the Alex Freeman battle here with 30 seconds to go. It's going to be this lap and then one more. As we've seen drive-throughs be a situation, is Alex Freeman gonna have what it takes to make this move work, to make something happen? 2 laps remaining.
I can tell Freeman's carrying a little bit more speed now. He's trying to get this Merc. What does that say on the back? The entire time. Maybe I'll have to ask him later what it is that it says. But he's going to be a little bit of wideness there by Sullivan. Might have worked out in his favor, though. That might give him the exit speed that he needs. And honestly, yeah, I'll go with Nairati. Interlagos, one of my more favorite tracks. But currently, we're not there. We're at Misano. And Freeman doesn't look like he's going to get any opportunity here at Sullivan unless it's right here, right now. He is as close as he has ever been to that Mercedes. This is the moment. This is the chance. And Sullivan blocks the inside, forcing Freeman to go wide. And I think that's going to be it for Freeman's chances at a top 5. Hansen's gotten away from Sullivan and Freeman after a beautiful pit strategy there. And just time is running out. Rivera crosses the line to win at Misano. Beachley will get P2 and Dumoulin will get P3. But what's going to happen to 4, 5, and 6? So far, nothing seems to be wrong unless somebody gets a drive-through at the end, which would just be heartbreaking. But so far, everything seems to be as it is right now. Nothing will change. Hansen 4th, Sullivan 5th, and Freeman, who's run at a time, takes 6.
That was an immense battle. Great effort. Torres coming in 7th. Yatanashi taking the win for the rookies here with 1 corner to go.
Drive-through.
Shouldn't yeah, I was gonna say I shouldn't speak too soon. But Yatanashi redeeming their poor performance earlier on in the rookie series. Coming through in 8th. Provolone in 9th. Elmer securing 10th. Doyle a disappointing 11th with the drive-through.
That's gonna break Doyle's heart. Not only did he lose, that's gonna be disappointing for him. Not only did he lose out on the rookies, he lost out on the top 10 too. That's gonna hurt. That's gonna drive him to be better at Bathurst next week.
Oh my goodness, this Bathurst next week. That's awesome.
Oh, dude, no, please.
Misano low-key underrated. I agree with you, Mitch. I love Bathurst. Sorry, Misano. I love Bathurst as well, but I do really love Misano. I think it's so much fun. Had great races here. A fun fact redeemed. Excuse me. Let's see what we can give you. Okay, here's a fun fact. Misano is open 320 days out of the year. Misano only offers a complex racetrack and space for 60,000 spectators. That's kind of cool. Quite a few people, if I were to say so myself. Well, Tyler, that was quite the race. A lot of action. Even though the smaller grid was there, we did have nonstop action throughout the entire race. And we have the likes of Ricardo Rivera and Justin Beachley. And Tyler, why don't you go ahead and start off the interview?
Rivera, that was an excellent win by you. A little when you lost out on the position there, but were you ever really worried that the race win was in doubt?
Yes and no, because maybe it looked easy the win, but as soon as in the practice I saw that everyone was putting more than 10 kilometers on the straight, more than me, I started figuring out a new setup. All the setups I had were with max wing, and as soon as I saw that the speed difference, I changed the wing to 1 and started modifying everything to not die at the end of the straight, which was the most difficult part of driving with a lower wing. That final corner just before the straight. It's at the end of the straight. So I was in the race basically trying a setup that I wasn't used to it. So it was a little bit of a gamble.
Well, it's a gamble that definitely paid off, that's for sure. Beachley, you kind of capitalized on a battle there. You and Shane, talk me through. Were you just kind of just sitting, waiting for a mistake from one of them or both of them?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was gonna let them battle. Was hoping they would start fighting, which is what happened. And luckily, was able to pass Shane. Unfortunately, couldn't get past Ricardo, but he's class. So there was, it wasn't looking like I could have defended, but who knows with the AMG being fast in a straight line. But yeah, it was a good first stint for sure. I think my pit stop wasn't perfect, and I think Ricardo got a bit of a gap there. It's just it. So luckily didn't have any drive-throughs or, I managed to get my third warning in the second to last lap, so I was kind of like, maybe I should slow it down a little bit. But yeah, it's always nice to get P2.
Rivera, how many track warnings did you have at the end there?
I finished the race with 2, and I got both of them before pitting. So very early in the race, I was with 2 warnings.
Wow.
Leaving it till the end, I see.
That's
All
rough.
right, throwing it back over to you, Eric.
Yeah, so guys, fantastic job, Ricardo. Again, great job on the race, and congratulations. Risking it with 3 warnings so early. You're
No, with 2. I had 2, not 3.
Oh, okay. So a bit of, I was gonna say you're really carrying over the habits from this weekend, running the immense amounts of risk. But yeah, glad you didn't get a drive-through, and great racing, everyone. Congratulations to you, Ricardo, to you, Beachley, at P2, fantastic job, and to Shane in P3. We're trying to get him into the booth here, but just weren't able to do it. Good job. And see you guys next week. Tyler, another fantastic race. I mean, we thought that it was going to be a little light on action, potentially given the grid size, but it did not disappoint. We had immense amounts of action all the way through the grid, and just great driving from everybody, really.
Yeah, that was immense. There was no lack of drama. We had battles. We had drive-throughs at horrible timings. Just everything you wanted that came from the rookies continued into the open, but with less size. So yeah, that was an absolute blast, an absolute treat to watch. And again, the dominance of Rivera continues.
Alrighty. With that being said, thank you so much to Tyler Morgan for joining in the second half of the stream today. Fantastic job. And thank you to Kuja Terekov joining in the first half of the stream. Hoping to see more of you guys streaming with us in the future and continuing to stream with us in the future. And I will answer this question from Adam Strange. I know everybody goes crazy over Kendrick Lamar, but I just love Dochi's style. Being a 90s rap kid myself, just that style seems to suit me better and reminisce the old times. With that being said, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for another fantastic Trackalicious stream here on Monday's GT4 series with the rookies and the Open. We'll be back on Wednesday for the Wednesday West Coast and Thursday for the iRacing League. With that being said, we're going to raid This Dad Is Bad. Go hang out with Mike Pico, say what's up, go give him a follow. Every raid that he gets and every follow that he gets is a couple of push-ups for him. So go show him some love as he does race in our series. For now, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are. I'm Eric Ocasian, joined by Tyler Morgan. See you next time.